Sadly, this is a forsaken generation. Hear this well, we're not going away. Eyes are opening to the truth. We grow stronger in number as a united force every day. Babies are dying, parents left crying, told that SIDS or coincidence disorder are to blame, parents forced to live with the pain and shame. The once bright smiling faces full of wonder turned vacant stares, families shattered while they also endured the public glares. You're wiping out future generations for your own selfish gain as we form this revolution for liberation and change. We will keep speaking louder and louder. We will not be silenced until there's a shift in power. So stand up, speak out, be brave, be the voice of the voiceless. Too many forsaken lay in their graves. Welcome to Forsaken Generation.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron. I don't see my sidekick. Oh, there he is. There's my buddy Anu. All right, it's bringing him in. It takes a minute to get him in the dashboard. But happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one. First hour, of course, is me and my best friend Anu, and we will be talking to y'all just about all the good jazz going on in the movement. And then after that, it will be Lacey Raye joining me, and I cannot wait to have her on. So stay tuned for that. It's still bringing you in, friend. I can see you. It's just spinning and spinning and spinning. I don't know if you want to give it a minute or try to call back in if you can hear me. There you are.
There we go.
There we go.
Hello.
I got you.
Got a little hung up in the system there that time, didn't I?
Yeah, you were just spinning in circles in here.
So how's it going?
Well, good morning. It's going good.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning to all our listeners, and how's everybody doing? I know you can't answer, but I'm just going to ask the question anyway.
Yeah, you can always answer in the feed on my Facebook. I always put up, Lou's always talking in there. We love our Lou Draco. Definitely,
yes,
I think one of our top listeners, love Lou. But yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy week, man. I've just been watching so much happening in our movement. Like, I know we had Denver out in the, at their capital the 23rd. And then Texas was out for 2 days, 28th and 29th. And then Washington was also out on the 29th, I believe. Like, there's just been rally after rally after rally. It's been just a going.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I mean, actually, a lot of stuff has happened since the last time you and I talked, or actually got on the radio here. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's been wild
it's
to
crazy
see.
It's really wild to see what's going on. One of my favorite things that I have seen in the past couple of weeks is I don't know if everybody that's listening to the show knows who this man is, but Kevin Barry, he's an extremely awesome individual who does awesome work. And he has this T-shirt that I want so bad. And the T-shirt says, "Make Orwell fiction again."
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's so great because we live in a time where literally that is it's not even funny anymore. It's interesting to see what kind of things are going on. It's unbelievable. It's predictable yet unbelievable, if I can say that.
Yeah. It's this world. I'm telling you, it's wild. Like, oh man, I don't know. I was watching Texas, and I'm so proud of them. I got to give a shout out to Texas because they had senators and state reps, and I mean they had everybody and anybody out there from inside the Capitol, outside the Capitol. And that was amazing to me. Like, they were really, you could tell. The men even mentioned two mothers specifically, but you could really tell that those mothers were relentless. They were getting in there all the time, and they were making sure that these people knew who they were and that they were, going to keep coming until, the results were what they wanted. And I don't know, I just love that the actual senators and state reps were thanking those women for being so tenacious and for waking them up, and we need more of that. It was just so beautiful to watch. It's on my wall if you haven't seen some of the Texas rally. When Paula got up to speak, she let Billy get up, and I just thought that was absolutely precious. He started singing and getting everybody involved, and it was just, I don't know, it was just a beautiful thing. It was a really good rally. A lot of people said a lot of amazing stuff that needed to be said, and it's happening everywhere. More and more people are getting brave enough to get out, and that is what we need, and that is so exciting to see, to actually see people who have been keyboard warriors for a long time hitting the streets, and I'm loving it, just loving it.
Yeah, it is actually really inspiring, seeing, our community band together and, people coming out and actually speaking out. And what's really cool is that people aren't just coming out to these things, they're also actually organizing. They're organizing, they're getting together,
yes.
They're creating, groups of people that are actually creating strategies to fight this unbelievable, I don't even have a word for it. It's so insidious what's going on, and it's really cool to see all our people are just buckling down and saying, okay, let's get serious and let's really make a strategy for how we fight this. It's unbelievable. I'm going to be at this thing next weekend, First Freedoms and IPAC. They're putting together this amazing, conference, and we're going to be at that thing, and it's about censorship and whatnot. And you know me, Lynette, being, having a background in marketing and social media and whatnot, and also being, a broadcasting, guy from the get-go, like a, kind of a legacy broadcasting person,
right.
Professional. It's interesting for me to see. We always saw it coming. It's been coming for a while, but to see the fourth estate essentially disappearing and being co-opted is really, really, it's really quite something. So it's amazing that our people are actually organizing and doing amazing. I'm so inspired. All our people in all the different, states and stuff, all the informed choice groups, all the health freedom groups, they're really buckling down and they're going for it, man. It's awesome.
Yep.
And it's not just that either. There's tons of people organizing in the background. Like, there's things happening in the background, meetings that I've been in, phone calls that I've been on, where people are organizing and doing some amazing things.
Oh, yeah, I know. Believe me, I've been on several phone calls myself lately. There's a lot going on in the background, and there's a lot of amazing people who've been reaching out to me. And, wow, I'm just mind blown at some of the stuff we've talked about and ideas we've come up with. And, but I will say this, we've still got a long way to go on some fronts, and we still have a few apples on this tree that need to be shaken a little bit and reminded what we're out here for. But, that'll all happen in due time, I suppose. It's a lot. It's hard out here, but I'm so proud of everybody, and I hope to keep seeing people doing this because, you know what? I'll tell you this. This was something I found interesting. I was telling you about my friend from the children's home. He is a history professor in Birmingham, and he's been doing this, for a long, long time now. And he's been listening to all the things that I've been saying on social media. So he started doing his own research into the topic. And he actually talked about me in his classroom, talked about my activism, went as far as to look into vaccines, how they line up with disease and illnesses, how they line up with chronic disease. And he messaged me and said, "You have a friend in me on this topic. Like you're right." Like, and then he apparently has a friend in the CDC, and he messaged me and said, "So I've been talking to my friend at the CDC, and they want to know, what is it that you want? Do you want? Are you just trying to abolish them all because you realize that's not feasible? Like, what?" And then I just pretty much, it was like a ransom note of a list of like what I think needs to be happening. And, it's like, here, shoot this back to your friend. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's neat to have these different ways that things pop up, to have these lines of communication. I mean, this is, just a guy I grew up with, and he was the generation before me of kids. He was older than me, and you know, it was just so funny to just have him reach out to me like, well, number one, he had actually sent me other people who had injury in the past, and then same with other kids I grew up with. Either they themselves would be injured and seek me out, or they would have a friend injured and they would send them to me. And so it's just interesting. Even out of a group home, here's an experiment for you. Out of a group home of about 40 to 60 kids at any given point, out of all of the ones in the group that I'm in, where we all kind of, you know, come in on Facebook and talk or whatever, like a little reunion kind of group, I would say over half now have asked me for advice on this topic and have told me about an injured family member or themselves. So, I mean, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I would have to say the vast majority, if not most of the people that either don't know anything or, you know, are at least more so on the pro side, the pro-vaccine side, it's interesting, and there's proof in the pudding, right? Because when I've started talking to these people, like I'll tell you an example that just happened. I met a guy a few weeks ago, and I did some freelance work for him, and he does debates and stuff like that, right? About all kinds of stuff like religious stuff and things like that. And he's an intelligent guy, you know, critical thinker. Didn't really know much about what was going on with this whole vaccine issue. Had just gotten a DTaP like not too long ago. But we were out the other night. I finally decided to take a night off and go spend some time with some friends, you know, because I like almost never do that. But I finally did that the other night, and after dinner we started getting into the topic. And the way I started it, the start of the topic with him was essentially I said to him, listen, man, I'm not trying to push anything on you. I'm not trying to like get you to think one way or the other, but I know you and your wife are probably going to start thinking about having children soon. Just do me a favor as a respect thing between two people who respect each other for their intellect and their kindness and generosity. Do me a favor, and before you really start thinking about having children, or when you start thinking about having children, that before you have that kid, that you come talk to me about this topic. And that intrigued him. And so we started talking and, you know, started laying it out. Me and one other friend, we started laying out the information that we have. And even just the questions and the curiosity and the you know, the kind of dubious nature of this whole situation. And when we started telling him some of these questions, or, you know, posing these questions to him, he was really intrigued. He was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? How can this be true? You know, like, he was baffled by the 1986 Act. He was baffled by it. He's like, because he's a businessman. Like, he is an entrepreneur, has like 3 or 4 different businesses.
So many people are. That's the part that gets most people.
Yeah, and he's like, wait, what? What do you mean? When we told him about the 1986 thing, and then we told him about the 3 groups that that were studied by Merck in the Gardasil trial, and how that worked. And he was like, wait, but that doesn't make any sense. You can't do that. And then he goes back that night, right? He goes home and everything like that. And the next day, during the day, I get a text message from him that's like, holy cow, dude, I just been spending time researching all that shit you told me about, and they don't have any studies about the carcinogenic effects. They don't know anything about the mutagenic effects. They don't have studies for any of this stuff. I've really been looking. Like, he started asking questions based on some of the basic facts that me and my friend were giving him. We weren't even giving him deep dive stuff. So there's proof in the pudding, you guys. It's it's not that hard to start a conversation. It's really not. And when you do it in a respectful way, and you pose the question to them, as opposed to trying to educate someone, and you pose the question to them, you will see that most people have a basic foundational level of how they use logic, right? And even if they're using compartmentalized logic, if you base the same question in their in their world of logic where they understand it. And then you say, well, what if you applied it to this subject? It's interesting what, like, I saw his eyes just light up and go, oh my God.
Right.
And that happens more often than not to me now.
I know. And you know what? I'm finding that when I get out and about now, the more it's weird to me, but because before, when I would talk to people, I would feel like I was planting that seed for the first time. They hadn't heard this before. This was new to them. And I feel like we're doing something right, because now when I'm out and about and I'm talking to people and I'm telling them, I'm getting, oh, I know, oh my goodness, thank you for being brave enough to even say something to me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, okay, you already know, all right, high five, now spread it along, you know what I mean? And, but I mean, it's interesting for me to see that now, because before, I mean, anytime I spoke to someone around me, you know, being out locally or whatever, if they were awake, it was because I had already told them. I rarely ran into somebody that, you know what I mean? And so now it's happening, and I'm loving it. It's just so awesome, because it's like I'm finding local people who are my tribe, and we're doing something right because they're being woken up somehow by our social media. I mean, they're seeing us out here. A lot of people are seeing us now in all these articles popping up, and people are wondering, just looking it up for curiosity's sake, what's going on? Why are the anti-vaxxers, quote unquote, everywhere in the news right now? Because, man, they're trying to mandate stuff on all of you as well, and we're out here trying to save all our asses, you know?
Ain't that the truth? You know, it's the crazy thing to me is that I used to have to try so hard to get people to listen, and it's gotten a lot easier. I have to say it's gotten easier. It's not easy, but it's gotten easier, and that's something. Now, I will say this is all great stuff, right? Like everything we've been talking about right now, everything that we've been talking about today is great stuff. And it's really inspiring that people are getting out there and doing things. But I do want to be at least a little bit the voice of pragmatism a little bit. And the reason I say that is because there is something we're still horribly lacking on. And that's something that I think we should be, as a community, spending more time doing something about. And that is reaching younger people. We are horrible at reaching younger people. And I'll tell you this, I talk to a lot of young people. You know what I mean? Those of you who know me in the community, those of you who have spent time with me know that I get along well with young people. I get along with them because I understand where they're coming from, because I've lived in a state of disenfranchisement like my entire life. You know what I mean? So I understand what it feels like to be disenfranchised ever since the young age, right? And so when I talk to them, they express this idea, this feeling that, hey, we don't even give the time of day in our own community. We're as a community, and I'm not trying to be harsh on our community, it's just something that we need to get better at. But even in our community, with our children, I don't think we're doing a good enough job. I don't think we're doing a good enough job empowering them to speak out. Youth voices are so much more strong than we give them credit. And I'll tell you this, like, I've started working with you know, kids, and I've started working with younger people to see if I can get them involved. And I know a few other people that are starting to put together, you know, groups where it's young people trying to be empowered to speak out and learn about legislation and learn about the science behind vaccines and the science behind drugs in general and the kind of things that our, you know, government is doing. If we to think about it this way, right? And I don't mean to be overly critical, but think about it this way: we could change and we could save and we could reinstate all the philosophical, religious, and medical exemptions to the nth degree. They could all come back and we could have pure freedom legislatively, right? But if nobody knows they exist, what does it matter? If children don't grow up knowing that they have those rights, they will be taken away.
Yep.
They will be taken away. And even if we got all those rights back, all those exemptions back, right, guess what's going to happen in another 15, 20 years? They'll reverse again because our children don't know about them. And so I'm trying my hardest. Like I told you, Lynette, and I've said before, there are things that I'm working on and people that I'm working with where we're trying to put together a team of young people who understand what's going on, a group of young people who are empowered just like we are and have the knowledge that we do. So if you guys want to help me and help some of the people that I've been working with get to a point where we can start empowering more of these kids, message me on Facebook, DM me on Instagram, hit me up because we need help. And more than anything, honestly, and Lynette, you know this, we need money to make that kind of stuff happen. Contact me because I'm trying to do something big. If social media is attacking us, that doesn't mean we retreat into another cave.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to learn
when
how
social media started attacking me, I got out on every other platform I could find. And that's what everybody should be doing. When I started being censored, I went and found any other social media platform that I could find that was decent, and I got on there, and I started putting it everywhere. So censor me one place, I'll go 15 more. I mean, that's just the way it needs to be.
Right. And guys, here's the thing, okay? Most people have no clue what they're talking about when it comes to social media, okay? Even the people, I will tell you this, I know quite a bit about social media and how it works and how to market on there. I do. But I will tell you this, that even me, with my years of knowledge of doing it, will tell you that there is a layer of ambiguity in terms of how certain things go viral. Like my number one most hated thing, ever since I first started working at that marketing company a few years ago, I don't work there anymore, of course, but ever since we would have these meetings, right? We would have these meetings, and everybody, all the department heads would be in this meeting, and one of the salespeople would say something like, how do we make more viral videos? I'm just going to put it out there, guys. You can't make a viral video. You can perfectly place it and make it opportunistically viable for going viral, but there isn't a strategy to make every video go viral. The word viral literally means that it grows out of control organically. Okay? So, like, it's basic things like that our community needs to understand. And I'm willing to work with the people, the organizations that are in our community to make that happen. I want to help them understand how to get out there more, even if it's as simple as understanding how to use technology better to be on social media better. I want to help them. And you know me, Lynette, like you and I have talked about this. You've been on a couple conversations with me where I've told you a couple things about how social media works, and you understand that we need to deep dive this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've taught me a lot already. You actually helped me a lot with my business, too, and just understanding how this stuff works, like, and how to make things, what goes with what and what to separate. And, in my life, it's hard for me. Like a lot of people may be like me. I don't know, but it's hard to separate all your different things you do. At some point, it just all kind of becomes a blur to me. And you've really helped me see, separation of, business, of this, of that. Like you have to, and really, just, I don't know, you've taught me a lot, but you know that. And I still have a lot to learn from you. I really want to learn more about all the technical stuff and a lot more about social media and, how to use that to our advantage because, I just sent out on Twitter the other day. And, it's kind of sad to me because so few people actually pay attention or respond. But I sent out tweets to everybody I could think of about censorship, celebrity, anybody in the White House, just senators, all kinds of people about what's happening and how, the injured are being censored and, how we're not going to just sit here and be quiet and I said a lot of stuff, but as much as I could in the tweet. and I sent it out probably 50 people, and it's just sad. People, the responses you get are the things that happen, and it's like, look, we really don't have a lot of time. We've got to make this, figure this out. But it is, there are ways to already thin this out for injury. I mean, even if they just started testing for the mitochondrial, MTHFR gene mutations, different things like that, all the different, we know the, pre-screening for these things could make a big difference. I don't understand how that's not already happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually one thing that, like, I haven't spent much time thinking about it, but when I have, I feel like there's just this kind of, like, logical breakdown there. If you have tests that can figure out whether or not someone has an underlying, mitochondrial issue or something like that, and that they're, more susceptible to injury or something, then why wouldn't you make that like something that you just do as a normal thing? I mean, if it's like, from what I know, and I might be wrong about this, correct me if I'm wrong, but the incidences for the need, or rather what they say is the need for the vitamin K shot, right? The amount of issues that have happened in childbirth compared to, like, the response of this mandatory vitamin K, or not mandatory, but like heavily pushed vitamin K thing, vitamin K shot. It seems like one of those things. Like, why don't they use the same logic with this pre-screening of the mitochondrial issue? Why wouldn't that be dealt with in the same way? I mean, maybe I'm being ignorant about it, and someone educate me if I'm wrong. But I see that response should almost be the same, and it's not. I don't get it.
Yeah, well, when I was having my children, when it comes to the vitamin K, they didn't really make it seem like a choice to me, especially with my older kids. But I don't remember them ever even asking me. It didn't feel like a choice. I remember them just doing it. Same with vaccinations. I don't remember them ever asking me. It was just like, you birth your baby, they take them off to the side, they clean them up, they poke them, they hand them back to you. I mean, that was, how it was. That's how it was. Now my younger ones, I remember with Jazzy. Now, Jazzy didn't get anything in the hospital. She got vitamin K because I had no idea there's a black box warning. I didn't know that it could kill you or that it could, harm you. I didn't know it had all that aluminum. I thought it was a vitamin. But so she did have that, but she did not have Hep B on first day of life. And I'll tell all you women out there who are having children or in that age range, here is something you can tell them when you go to the hospital if you are having babies and you don't want to vaccinate while you're there. You can tell them that you have already set up a date with your primary pediatrician that you plan to see as soon as you get out of the hospital, and that you would prefer that your primary, pediatrician do the vaccines for your child. They don't call them. They don't follow you there. They don't go make sure you're doing that. They just want to know that somebody's doing it, and I've never had one mother tell me that did not work. They always say, thank you, oh, my goodness, that made it so easy. They didn't even question me. They were like, oh, okay, you already have a family pediatrician, no problem. So if that helps you out there, there's one way. Yeah, that's one way to try to, get through that. And like I said, I have yet to have one woman tell me it did not work. There was even a girl locally who, she was actually 19. She just had a baby, and she's using my same doctor. I sent her to our doctor. But she said, before she had delivered or whatever, she asked me what to do, and that's what I told her. And she called me after she had her son, and she said, oh, my goodness, you were right at work. They did not even ask me nothing after that. They were just like, oh, okay. It's like, well, yeah, why would they? They don't, in their head, they're like, as long as someone's getting, doing it, as long as someone's getting that kickback, whatever, like as long as you're going to do it, they're cool. So, but you don't have to do it. You just tell them that's what you're up to. But I don't know. It worked for me with Jazzy, and it made me a lot less paranoid to go in there to actually have something to say. And, so there's just that for all you ladies out there looking for a way to not have to do that. Now, vitamin K, you're going to have to usually fight, but I've seen mothers do that and win. go in there with the information. When you show them, there's a risk of death, there's this, there's that, there's the other, here's proof that they don't even really need this, usually they'll back down and they'll be like, wow, I didn't even know this about vitamin K. Okay, thank you,
Right. I have a question for you, Lynette, and, anybody else who's listening here that might have better ideas about this. But I met someone recently that was interviewed by a reporter, okay? And one of the questions the reporter posed was, do you vaccinate your children? Now, my initial response to something like that would be, and tell me if this is the wrong way to go about it, but if someone asked me that, or is specifically a reporter that works for a nationally syndicated, whatever, just like a public type of space, and they asked me if my children were vaccinated, or if I vaccinate my children, my response would be, I don't believe I have to disclose my children's medical history, and I don't believe I have to disclose my medical history according to HIPAA. You know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
Is that I feel like that should be the response to that
that's confidential
question.
information.
I feel like like I don't have to tell you what here's the thing. People protect their political party leanings more than they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you ask that same person who they vote for, right? They'd be like, well, I don't know. That's private. That's personal. I don't have to tell you that. Well, so is my medical history, bro.
Yep.
I don't see why people. And that's the thing is too. I see. And once again, this is not me being critical of our people. I can understand how this can be, intimidating when a reporter's asking you these questions. But, maybe we should try responses that are a little bit more assertive. Maybe we should be saying, well, why should I have to tell you that information? I don't have to tell anybody else that. And why does my viewpoint on what's happening politically in this situation, what does that have to do anything with what I actually believe in? Or what I actually do? Does that it
has no bearing on it whatsoever.
Right. Are human rights and our civil rights exclusive to your personal actions? I'll tell you this. If someone came out tomorrow, right? I'm dead serious here. If someone came out tomorrow and tried to ban McDonald's, I would be like, no, screw you. I like my Big Mac. And I know people will be like, how can you say that? They're so unhealthy. Don't you know how bad they are for you? I would say, yes, I do. I know exactly how bad they are for me, but I like it, and it's my choice. Go screw yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't force your beliefs. Don't
infringe upon my right to eat my Big Mac, okay? This is mine.
And you know what? It's informed consent. I know exactly how bad junk food is for me, and I choose to eat it once in a while because those burgers friggin' taste good. And I'm sorry, but if you're gonna infringe
I don't
upon
eat
my
McDonald's,
freedom,
but I understand. That's my Burger King, okay? I get it.
I don't understand why people get so ideologically bent out of shape and want to enforce their ideological leanings on other people. I'm sorry, but we live in America.
Yeah.
Okay? We live in America. And you know what? I'll put more frosting on this. Okay? I'm an immigrant. When I was growing up and I learned about this country and I learned about the Constitution, all I wanted to do was move here one day. Because I believed in the Constitution, I believed in the Bill of Rights, and I believed in the fact that I had the freedom to be whoever, whatever I wanted to be in this country. And now that I'm here and all this stuff is going on, I'll tell you this, on both sides of the aisle, on every parts of the spectrum of the ideological standpoint, it seems like people are bent out of shape. They want their ideological leanings to be enforced upon everybody else. Everybody chill out. is what I gotta say. Because guess what? We still live in a pretty free country. So let's stop trying to infringe on other people's rights.
Or at least a country that's good at forming the illusion of freedom.
Right,
it's
that is true.
It is more an illusion than anything. But we somehow are magically entranced by that illusion. And sometimes
that is true. I mean, we could have conversations about whether or not we're all a bunch of indentured servants. Just succumbing to the debt, economy. But we could go down that rabbit hole if you guys really want. But the truth, I mean, and when I say we're a free country, what I probably should say is that we're freer than some others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
let's
that's
be honest,
true.
there
that's
are other
true.
parts of the world that are not free at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm lucky enough. My daughter's actually dating a guy who is Arab Muslim. He's from Jordan, and he's given me a lot of new perspective on what the world is like. You know what I mean? Just listening to him talk about where he's from, what it's like. The differences are insane. But hearing how they see America and, the way that America is looked at and things like that is just so wild to me. It's just so different. The way that they see us is definitely different than the way it really is, for sure. We're so heartbreaking. I'm gonna say this just real quick. Y'all pray for his uncle. Y'all know y'all don't know these people, but pray for him anyway. This man was holding his daughter's hand. She was 6 years old, had severe autism. He owns the corner store right up the street from me. And she grabbed, like just in a split second, pulled away from him and was nailed by a car and killed. And this
oh
man,
my gosh,
he owns the store and he watched it on his own video camera tape. Like it's all on tape. Like it was horrible. And they said he's just insanely devastated, of course. And it's just heartbreaking. And this is just right up the street from me. And just a small world. Lawlin just met this young man, and they've been dating for a couple of weeks now. And then to find out about that from, him about his uncle's daughter, it was just like, wow, what a, crazy little world. But, I mean, it affects everyone. It's everywhere. I mean, you everywhere, every race, every nationality, every age, anywhere you look, you're seeing these disabilities, these problems that we never saw like this before. And I really think people are starting to listen, and our jobs are getting easier because so many have seen it for themselves at this point. It's sad, but it's true, Anu. I mean, just since you and I have hit the streets for the last 3 years or whatever, I mean, it's gotten a lot more open out there. I mean, you know what I mean. From when you started, I think you and I started in the movement, within months of each other, probably. I'm not even kidding. And and it's just crazy to see. It's just crazy to see. How it really has changed. It went from any person you ever approached did not know to the difference. I mean, you see it now. Like when we were in Atlanta for ASIP, when I left Atlanta, I stopped at Junkman's Daughter, which is one of my favorite stores down in on Moreland Avenue down there. And when I stopped there, I was talking to this chick, hot blue hair, cool as she could be, whatever. And I said, yeah. She's like, where did y'all just come from? Because I had all our buttons still on, the I do not consent, science not silence, all that still all over my clothes. And I was like, well, I just left a rally, but we were just at ASIP, and I was talking to her all that. She's like, oh, I know, girl. I'm so glad somebody's in there fighting against that. I don't let them vaccinate me or my children, and, this, that, and the other. And it was like, it's so nice to have that conversation because it used to be people looking at you like you're crazy.
Right. It did. I mean, I remember when I first, it wasn't even that long ago, if you really think about it, in the full spectrum of this entire situation, literally 3 years ago, I remember having a hard time talking to anybody about it. Now it's not as hard. Definitely not. People are at least willing to be like, what are your views? Which is interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and thank you, which is the best part. because then you really know they're going to go
Right.
look at it. Like I love that part when you're like, oh my gosh, thank you for telling me this. I wish I wish I had known, but thank you for telling me. Like you can tell the way someone speaks to you if they're listening or not, and I love that because and a lot of times when they'll find you on social media. Now that's my favorite part because then you get to help like thicken that education, and you keep like molding that. Hey, here's more. Here's this. And I love that because I want them to know as much as possible when they feel confident enough to tell somebody else. And when, you know what I mean, I want to make sure that people understand what we're saying and what's happening out here, and we are getting it right, and we are spreading it everywhere we can. But I think we're doing an amazing job. The fact that we are being censored on every avenue, them cutting into my income. I've made two freaking sales on Etsy since they pulled off my top sellers, and no matter where I have my stuff, Polly's Place, whatever, I actually was doing wholesale. Those people just up and stopped selling my products without even telling me. So that was nice. But lovely world we're in.
Selling your product.
Wholesaling them through Facebook group for months and months and months now, and all of a sudden just stopped doing it. Like there was even like polls in there like, oh my goodness, which product do you guys want to see? And it was like my products went out on the top of the list every time, and next thing you know, not available. But it's sad because a lot of stuff was being made to look like the same stuff we were making, so it was just kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but yeah, I lost a lot of business that way too, and so it's just one of those things. It's like, it seems like the devil's after me from every direction, and then God is doing some things in my life in the background and that are really good, so I'm just kind of like, I'm just riding this ride, seeing what happens, but I'm not getting down. Etsy can kiss my butt. I have made them so much money, and it's sad because they take almost half. People out there, anybody else who has an Etsy shop, y'all know I'm telling the truth. Etsy takes almost half of what you make. And for some reason, when you go do your taxes, you do all this stuff, those kind of fees don't seem to really matter. And, it's not what you made that counts and what you really got, you know what I'm saying? And it's a rough world out here. Etsy, I don't even want to have to deal with that anymore. But I actually got invited to Amazon by some guy on LinkedIn who is like some Amazon whatever, and I told him, I was like, dude, y'all are censoring too. I was like, I'd love to come over to Amazon, but y'all censor our products. Y'all censor anything that has to do with vaccinations or anything that has to do with anything. And he said, well, I'll look at your products, but I don't think there'd be anything wrong with them on our site. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just warning you now. I've already been taken down other places. And, I'm just being straight up with him because I don't want to take the money and the time to do it all and then just get kicked out.
Right.
And Amazon would be a great platform.
Right. It takes a lot of effort to be able to put your stuff on these platforms. People don't understand. It's not like you just like click a few buttons and there you are. It's not that easy.
I wish.
Really
I wish I could do like that little I Dream a Genie head blink.
Right.
I'm telling you, because I don't understand half that stuff, and a lot of them, they're like, put in codes to do this, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? What kind of code? Nobody gave me this code. Is something going to blow up? What the hell am I supposed to be doing? How to do this crap? It's hard.
Yeah,
it really is. Oh, man.
I think what's going to happen is that, the exclusivity of some of these platforms that are starting to make it hard for people like in our community and stuff to actually, host their products and things of that nature. I think what's going to happen with a lot of these platforms is they're going to keep going. They'll keep making tons of money because, they have so much support. But I honestly believe that there's going to be some extremely talented people in our own community that are going to start building platforms that don't have those kind of people pulling the strings. So yeah. I see that happening.
That's
very,
what we
very
need.
Soon.
I told Polly Tommy that like last year. I was like, we need like woke book. We need that place like that's better than Facebook that we send our people for our tribe. We need that community where you can put your products and we support each other. We need that community where, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? I would love there to be a community where we have all those connections, and or hey, you can message so and so or their assistant or however you want to get in touch with them and invite them to speak at your event, or hey this or hey that. Like we really need those things, because a lot of people want to throw these things and they don't know how to get in touch with the people. They don't know how to get help. They don't know how to do these larger scale things that they want to do. And so, I mean, it would be great to have ways for people to find help with any of that stuff when it comes to media and getting out there more.
Definitely. And that's the thing, is that we need to start thinking about, we need to not just start thinking about it, we need to start actually organizing. Like a lot of people are doing this stuff in our community. And here's the thing, you guys, is that the number one question, right, that we got when we were out on the road during Q&As, the number one question that we got, besides what's William Thompson up to, the number one question we got was, how do we get mainstream media to pay attention to us? And guess what our answer was for the most part? Actually, pretty much answered the same thing pretty much every single time. We said, stop caring about the mainstream media. They're never, ever going to give us the time of day. It's like it's actually almost pathetic to ask them to. It feels like, to a certain extent, we're begging them to pay attention to us, and it's kind of pathetic, to be honest. You guys, like, it may seem in this community, because I will tell you, like, the target. The demographics in this community are basically from like the mid 30-year-olds to like the 45, 50, and like that's where the demographic is. And I don't mean to be, mean to you guys, because I'm in that range. I'm 34 years old. But I will tell you this: the world that we came from, which is television and mainstream media and all that stuff. Those people they're getting obsolete very quick. Yep. They're getting obsolete very, very, very quick. I mean, I'll just tell you one example, okay? There was this charity foundation that I used to do work for back when I was younger, doing like live sound and whatnot, called Cry Foundation, okay? They do a lot of like charity stuff for people who need help in India, in like, the really rural areas who have nothing. Like they do amazing work. They put together schools and stuff like that. They do a lot of great work. Okay. And they've been around for years. They've done amazing work. Okay. And they've done well for themselves. They've done some pretty good stuff. But if you guys, and I say this name all the time, but I'll tell you guys again. PewDiePie, okay, was attacked at one point because he made some video with some Indian people. It was a joke, but people, mainstream media took it way out of control. And so PewDiePie decided to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to fire back. So what PewDiePie did was he made one video where he mentioned this foundation like a few times and said, hey, guys, let's see how much money we can get them to help them. Okay, let's go to their website and let's see how much we can help them. And he put out that one video, and they crashed the website. There was so much money coming in that they were funded for like a really long time. And that's one guy on YouTube who got famous for playing games and talking about them. That's one guy.
Yeah. And my kids all know who he is.
And that's all I'm saying, is that if you guys are still trying to get Anderson Cooper, Sanjay Gupta, and all these goofballs to pay attention because you think somehow if they pay attention that we'll be validated, you're wasting your time. They're never going to pay attention to us as long as their paychecks are coming from the places that we're trying to fight. It's just not going to happen. So use the tools that are available to you. You guys have no idea how powerful social media is. It is unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
A kid with a cell phone that costs $150 can go out, start a YouTube channel, and if he works every single day, puts up a video every single day, within a year or two, right? Within a year or two, he could be making enough money to actually pay his bills.
Mhm. Yep.
The world has changed, and we need to evolve with it. And I'll tell you this, like I don't even remember the last time it was that I watched like television. Like flip through the channels. Like I don't remember the last time I did that. I don't even have TV at home. The only reason I know what happens when the Anderson Coopers, the Sanjay Guptas, and all these cronies say anything is because it shows up on my Facebook feed because somebody that is either my age or older found it.
It's the truth. It's changed. Social media has changed. So everything has changed the way things work so much. I don't have cable TV either. Now I do. My daughter, she has Netflix because she works hard for me in the business, and that was her one request, that she could have Netflix. And so, kudos to her. I get it. We like stand-up comedy or whatever, but, stuff like that. But for the longest time, I did not have anything like that. I had Prime Video, I guess, because I have Prime for business. And being able to get labels and different things through them cheaper. And, of course, who doesn't love having it delivered within 2 days after you order it? But I'm really depressed with Prime. I'm really depressed with Amazon. I mean, a lot of these platforms, I'm kind of surprised they didn't fight back and just say, hell no, we're not censoring our products or censoring the people. And, I'm really surprised that didn't happen more. So many people were just like, oh, okay, we're supposed to censor these guys? Okay, no problem. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was like, oh, yeah, we'll just roll over.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, you think more people would have more integrity and honestly care about freedom of speech and care about, okay, so obviously if there's this many people saying this, there has to be, merit to this. There's no way we tricked that many people. I mean, it's just crazy.
What I find interesting is that most of these people that are doing this stuff, the social media platforms and stuff like that, right, that run those companies or started those companies come from a liberal ideological standpoint, which is interesting to me because the new school liberal isn't what they used to be. Like, there's a distinct difference between the liberals of, back in the day and what we have now. These aren't liberals. It's just the weirdest. It's the weirdest thing. Like I mentioned this before. Remember when I talked to you about that New York Times article where the title was something to the effect. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something to the effect of conservatives use the First Amendment as a weapon, or the conservatives have weaponized the First Amendment. And essentially, when you read that article, what you gather from it is that New York Times was making a case that we should do something about clamping down on the First Amendment because conservatives are using it as a weapon. Now, if that's going a little bit over your head, let me just put it in a really simple way. They are a newspaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, their entire business it depends on the First Amendment.
Yeah, exactly. No, I understand. I think it's insane.
We're saying we should. I'm just saying. I know you get it because you've been in this. I'm saying there's people that I've talked to where I've mentioned that and they're like, yeah, so the conservatives have used it. I was like, no, you don't get it. It's a problem when the very people who are supposed to be fighting for our First Amendment rights and are there to protect it are telling us we should do something about it. Like, that's a problem. That's like, people are people getting stupider, you know? And so it's interesting.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. I just think it's interesting that people aren't looking at things like that. I just think it's interesting that people aren't looking at things like that closer and, like, seeing how ridiculous it is. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't seem like people are looking at it in the mainstream media. When you look at social media, I've mentioned this group before, but you guys really, you should be watching more of the stuff that people in the intellectual dark web are putting up. There's kind of an informal kind of name for a group of individuals who have become this new cohort of intellectuals who are fighting for real freedom, and their entire popularity has been based on the social media, and they have millions and millions of followers. And whenever they book a tour, their tours sell out completely all across the country in a matter of a few weeks. Wow. And guess what? Those same people get lambasted by the mainstream media. They get called things that aren't even logical. Like Ben Shapiro not too long ago got accused of being alt-right, and it was so ridiculous that I think I'm not sure if this actually that he actually sued them. But he pretty much was like, dude, this is defamation. I've literally stated over and over again that I am not alt-right and that I have a real problem with the alt-right. And it's like the mainstream media is just like, no, we're just going to put that out there. I mean, they called PewDiePie a Nazi, for God's sakes.
Yeah, that blew my mind. I'm telling you, I have a 13 and a 16-year-old son, so I know who PewDiePie is. I have gaming children. I know who PewDiePie is, and that dude is rich off of YouTube. It kind of blows my mind that is where we're at. Like, that is so insane. Holy smokes, man! I can't even get monetized on YouTube. They demonetized everything that I do in my life. Oh, man. Our shows can't be monetized.
Dude is actually a millionaire. Off of YouTube.
Mm-hmm. That really does show you how much the world has changed. You don't need an agent. You don't have to do any of that. You can just throw yourself out there, and wowza, you can make your own $1 million.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what the power of it is. I mean, the credit goes to not only PewDiePie, but the fact that we have something like social media. If we learn how to use it properly, it could be a real weapon. It could be a real strength in our corner, right? This is what a lot of people don't get about PewDiePie. Yes, he's funny. Yes, he does a lot of things. Yes, he got a lot of his fame from doing, like, the gaming stuff and stuff like that. But his pull, his clout, has been growing exponentially in the past few years, even more so because he is straight up. When he makes mistakes, he gets on there and he says, I'm sorry, that was dumb. I'm an idiot. And he says that without, he says that because he knows being genuine and being true is how you actually win. The people that are doing the best on social media and have the longest standing sustainable platforms are all people who are being straight up.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's us. That's why we're still out here. That's why we have so many listeners, because we don't mind telling the truth, right? And we don't mind telling it like it is. And sometimes we'll tell it we'll go deeper than many more will. And we might step on toes sometimes, but we do it out of love because we want people to all unite and really see the big picture. And sometimes you have to kind of go, hey, stop doing what you're doing right now and listen. But we do it with love.
Lynette, you and I have definitely stepped on some toes.
Oh, I know we have. That's okay, though. But when it needs to happen, it needs to happen. I'm not done stepping yet. I'm just not. I mean, I've got you know what my background plans are right now, and I still have those intentions. I'm not going to stop. I believe there are certain people who have decent amount of power in this movement who are not using it to its potential and in some ways even abusing it. And I just feel like there are a lot of conversations that need to be had and a lot of things that need to happen a little differently, and we really could make this out like just we could actually do something. It would become a lot different. It would get a lot bigger. I hope that I'm making enough on my fundraiser to be able to go do that soon. Y'all, I'm serious. The whole point of being out here for me is making sure that when we spread this message of what is happening, we also spread the message of love and mercy and forgiveness, because as we say all the time, wouldn't you much rather come over to someone who's offering you forgiveness and mercy than you would someone spitting in your face? So just remember that when you're out there. Try to treat people with respect and love. And Anu, I know you've got to get into work at the high wire, but I love you, my friend, and thank you for being on with me. And I will talk to you next week. I don't even know who we have next week. Oh, yeah, I do. Anu, next week we've got Vice President of Life University. Gilles is coming on with me.
Oh, I love Gilles. He's an amazing man. He was very, very, very kind to us when we were over there.
I love him. What a personality.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love you, my friend.
He's a unique human being for sure. I love you, too, and I love all of you listening. I will talk to you guys later.
All right, Mama, and have a good week. All right, you guys, we are going to jump to a quick commercial break and help Freedomizer pay these bills, and then we are going to be on with Miss Lacey Raye. I am so excited to talk to her. She is somebody that I am inspired by and look up to, and I just think she's out there doing amazing work. So y'all just hang in there for just a minute. Let me throw out some of these commercials, and we will be right back.
Leaders, listen up. Do you feel like you can't get a dang thing done because of all the namsy-pamsy crybabies that want you to coddle their creativity? When you give orders, are you met with vacant stares only rivaled by a cocker spaniel? It's not them. It's you. You need to shape up or they'll ship you out. Read the Sniper's Guide to Leadership, and you'll become a more effective leader, communicator, and motivator. Forget SMART goals and learn SWIFT goals. Get the Sniper's Guide to Leadership in paperback, Kindle, and Nook. Today!
Vaccines are required for students, employees, immigrants, military members, and international travel. Do you know how to legally avoid them? This is vaccine rights attorney and Freedomizer radio host Alan Phillips. My vaccine exemption ebook can help you avoid the mistakes that have cost others their exemption rights. Get the authoritative guide to vaccine legal exemptions, an ebook available at freedomizerradio.com and vaccinerights.com.
Let freedom ring throughout the land.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal. But something seems to be missing. Stickers from LibertyStickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's LibertyStickers.com. But wait. There's more. You can buy Liberty Stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to LibertyStickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. LibertyStickers.com, the world's most dangerous stickers.
All right, everybody. You are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron. Earlier in the show, that was my buddy and sidekick, Anu Vaidya, joining me. And now I want to welcome in Miss Lacey Raye. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Welcome to the show. Yes, ma'am.
Yay. Oh, my gosh, I'm so nervous.
Well, oh, don't be nervous. I'm serious. Don't be nervous. Welcome to the show. All of the people listening to our show are amazing people, so you don't have to worry. No judgment is ever passed. We're all amazing. And honestly, your story is definitely one that I love to hear just knowing you grew up vaccine free is awesome to me. Seeing people who are vaccine free, you can always tell a difference in them and their health, and it's just amazing that it's nice because we still have those people out there that we can do the vax and unvax study, and But I just want to welcome you to the show, and I want to tell you first off, amazing girl, you are doing amazing work out there. I am so proud of you. I cannot wait to meet you and hug your neck because you are a serious booty kicker.
Well, I try. I really do. And that's all I ask anybody else is just try the best you can. We all have our own brand of activism, as Del likes to say. So I like to make signs, amazing signs that people donated to have made up and bring them to the rallies and just connect with everybody. And I mean, the biggest thing recently, I think the epiphany I've had most recently, listening to Sheila and Polly on the Daystar interview, and then when they went out live after that, I just really dawned on me that these past 4 years since I've become more and more involved in a part of this community, that it encompasses some of the most amazing, beautiful, courageous, righteous people that I've ever thought. I never would have thought I maybe would be connected to. And yet the media is portraying our community in the opposite, right? I mean, you hear, I often over the last 4 years have had people go off on tangents about those anti-vaxxers, and then they go off of, about that British guy, he was discredited, Jenny McCarthy, blah, blah, blah. Like all this official narrative. And never is applicable to me or really any of us. You know what I mean? It's like
it's crazy how many have that same narrative. Yeah, I was trying to tell my son's father about this during the summer, and he's like, yeah, but that Wakefield guy was debunked. And I'm like, oh, good Lord. Okay, let me give you some information. Hold on. Looking at my watch. All right, it's 11 p.m. now. All right, we're going to be here till about at least 5.
My parents were woke long before many people, and so I had the great privilege to grow up. Me and my 4 younger siblings had 0 vaccines growing up. We went to a public school in Washington State. Back then, all you had to do was fill out a philosophical exemption. You didn't have to have any physician sign it or anything. You just turned it in. You're good to go. I often remark that it was kind of strange that, I always had this intuition that something was really strange about this, being unvaccinated because, here we were getting, perfect attendance awards, and all the other kids, a lot of them were often homesick, and I'd be like, isn't that kind of strange? My dad has horrible allergies, seasonal allergies, hay fever. None of us have any, 0. My husband has terrible allergies. My daughter, 0, vaccine free. So,
wow.
But, but I always have to say,
so being vaccine free.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say,
well,
being
I did have a tetanus
free
shot when I was 19, so I need to put that in there.
Which one, Tdap?
Unfortunately. I think so. Of course, I didn't get informed consent, so it's probably TD or Tdap. I don't know, but I cut my finger in the workplace, and then they told me that they wouldn't, I couldn't get stitches and get it taken care of and get it compensated, but unless I got a tetanus shot, which true. This is in Arizona. I have no idea, but they coerced me into it. So I was very sad. I couldn't put my name on the inside of the vax bus.
I was coerced into that same vaccine at 26 weeks pregnant, so I get it. It's and that's a rough one. So how in the world did you end up in this movement?
Well, it was the measles psyop in Disneyland, and I called it a psyop. I remember people telling me, oh, that's a strong word to use. And now I'm like, no, I still feel it's the most appropriate word to use for what happened, the first measles psyop and the subsequent one since, because, I knew about Dr. Thompson. So first off, here I am. The way I describe it is I'm like, I'm minding my own business, just going about my life, vaccine free. We didn't vaccinate my daughter. And then I started seeing this word Antivaxxer, and I'm like, what the hell is an Antivaxxer? You know? I mean, if anybody, and once I figured out what it is, I'm like, if anybody should know what this is, wouldn't it be me, right? I mean, so I figured out really quickly it's a slur, not unlike conspiracy theorists or, you know, in other terms, to really silence people, make people disregard other people, you know. And so, you know, and then I began to see social media, mainstream media, because, you know, back 4 years ago, that the measles outbreak, or PSYOP, as I like to say, in Disneyland, I mean, it was weeks. It was like a drumbeat of just never ending for weeks and weeks, like, oh, we're all going to die of the measles. And then and then more and more and more, you just see this, you know, animosity, what I call state-sanctioned hate speech and discrimination, and just, you know, people on social media, mainstream media, and even in my workplace, and even extended family. I mean, I just began to see more and more, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, I'm not vaccinated, you guys. Like, I was just going about my life, and then all of a sudden I'm a scourge on society. Like, this is really, you know, this is weird. This is messed up. And then of course, I quickly realized how rare I am. I was like, you know, because the vast majority of what we now call, you know, are anti-vaxxer or ex-vaxxers, you know, because I really quick I realized, oh my gosh, I am so rare to just not vaccinate and not have had someone dear to me be injured or killed. That's, you know, and then I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone is spreading this animosity and hate speech towards people that have sacrificed their children for the greater good. That's crazy. How could, and that's just, as I say, the rest is history, because just that fact, I'm like, I live in a country where people are sacrificing their children for the greater good only to have society ridicule them and turn their backs on them. I just can't. I can't stay silent while that's happening. And so that's where a lot of my passion comes from, is, you know, just, you know, I followed the Vax tour really closely. You know, I was, you know, one of the Periscope peeps, one of Polly's peeps. And so I've probably watched thousands of different interviews and attestations, and, you know, just to kind of, you know, because I maybe haven't had someone harmed that, you know, that's dear to me, I wanted to understand fully and comprehend and have empathy and try to fully understand. And I tell you what, it's really, people say, oh, you're crazy, right? And sometimes I'm like, I really wish I was, because it's when you really comprehend what's going on, the silent epidemic of what's happening, it can be, I mean, I feel like if I'm crazy and I'm just having some sort of psychological break, that would be so much better than what's actually happening, right? So, I mean, I had a coworker at a former job tell me her 4-month-old baby died literally 3 hours after her vaccines. They ruled it SIDS. You know, I talk to people all the time, everywhere I go, and it just, you know, it's just unreal. I mean, just the volume of people, when you ask them and you're kind and you could tell that they're not judging, they're willing to open up and tell you. And it's everywhere you go, literally everywhere you go. Like, I noticed when you wear these shirts, stories.
Like, I wear activism shirts just about every day of my life. It's my uniform. And, I mean, I swear, it's like people come up to me like, thank you for being willing to speak out about this. Thank you for wearing that. Thank you. That, you know, I mean, and it's like, you're welcome. Like, join me. You know what I mean? Join me.
And that's the thing. And that's everybody that comprehended what's happening, you know, tomorrow morning woke up and decided to speak out, this be over. It would be over. That's how I really believe that.
I do too. I'm right there with you on that one. I agree.
It really does frustrate me. And even the fact
people
that
need to remember that.
I mean,
I was just going to say I mean, they only hold your power as long as you let them. You know, your voice is your voice. You need to be using it. And if they try to censor you, it's like Anu and I were saying. If they try to censor you in one place, then get on 10 other places. You know, I mean, it's your voice is your power, and if you allow them to shut that down, it's over.
Yeah, and we need to be going to the community, because everyone's all like, oh, boo-hoo, censorship on the internet, which it is a big deal. but we need to talk to people in the community.
No, I agree.
We need to get together and get to know our neighbors and just talk to people. Because
I do this all the time. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I love you. You said that I'm your inspiration, and it's so the other way around. My faith has been so much strengthened just by following you, and just my resolve and my courage is because of you. I'm telling you, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm so inspired. I mean, and like you say, to come from a place of mercy and kindness, to be Christ-like, in my opinion, is the way to go. Because isn't it intriguing that a lot of people sometimes that are the most spiteful and vicious towards quote-unquote anti-vaxxers are often really good people otherwise. They just are completely clueless. They just have no idea what they're talking about. And so
imagine me, girl. I have Paul Offit who messages me pretty much on a daily basis. I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm friends with the enemy. You know what I mean? Because I mean, we talk normal life, like, hey, how's your birthday going? Oh, I've got to ride to this thing to do this. Oh, okay, blah, 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 blah. I mean, just normal life at this point. We've been talking so long through email. And, I mean, it is an odd thing to do. But, I mean, I can ask any question. And that's awesome. But it's because I treat him with respect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he straight up knows where I stand. He knows I'm 100% against vaccinations. He knows I'll never vaccinate my kids. And he still respects me, but it's because of how I treat him, and it's because there are so many times I remind him, you know what, we are both human beings here, and at the end of the day, if you mean what you say, we both want the best for humanity, and so let's find a way to make that happen. Let's talk about pre-screening. Let's talk about, I mean, there's just so many different ways to do things, and we're doing them now, and he does talk back, so. I mean, it really is. To me, this is a testament to me. What I say about that, because I don't see it working when you spit bullets at people. I just don't see, or make fun of them or whatever. I wouldn't talk to somebody who treated me that way, and because they don't deserve my time, they don't deserve my respect, and because they're not going to give it to me. And you know what I mean? And even the Bible tells you, if somebody doesn't want to hear what you have to say, you leave that city with the dust on your heels, like, peace out. You know what I mean? You do what you have to do. You say what you need to say. And, I mean, at the end of the day, you've done your job, and that's all you can do. Oh, goodness.
It makes me think of a documentary I watched a while back about the Amish. And years ago, there was a man that walked into an Amish school and killed a bunch of children. And some of those parents, and then I think he killed himself, and some of those parents went to his funeral. And I was just bawling my eyes out. Like, what kind of person could do that, to have someone murder your child and then murder themselves and then go to their funeral, like that. Like, I'm not saying, like, everybody should be able to do that, but just we should all try. We should try to find common ground and see the humanity in everyone, because when you're, in my opinion, people on our side, when they start trolling and when they start, like, for example, I posted about because I'm here in Washington, and so there was a hair cutting place that put a sign in the window saying they won't serve unvaccinated children because of the measles outbreak. And I posted about it, and next thing I know, I look on their web page or Facebook page, and there's all these crazy, horrible reviews, and even just, you could tell people were making stuff up, like, oh, I went in there and I got lice, don't go here. And I'm like, this is horrible. Like, there's no excuse to act like this. Like, we're supposed to love the person that put that sign in the window.
That's
I think of the civil rights and Martin Luther King and people of color having integrity and holding your head high no matter what. Right. And I just can't get over that. I mean, that's pretty remarkable that you
love the man,
finding
not
common
the
ground.
deed.
Exactly. But even so, I mean, that your daughter suffered interception twice because of the rotavirus vaccine, and you are still amicable and kind and respectful towards Paul Offit. That is just really humbling, and I hope I'm not the only one, and I know I'm not the only one.
It is bridging a gap.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope so, because it is. I mean, that man came to me at ACIP to shake my hand across the velvet rope, not the other way around. And that says something. That is, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm being serious though. Like, I mean, and the thing is, I do see him as a human being. It's not a facade. It's not fake. I do 100% in my heart believe in agape love. I believe that all of mankind, you have to love them. You don't have to like them. You don't have to like what they're doing, but you have to love them. And to me, it is my job to try to show them where they're messing up and say, hey, there's a different way to do this. And if you look at this, you might see this. And you know what? You can do that for so long, and at some point, they're going to listen or they're not going to listen. I don't give up very easily. I've been talking to Paul for over a year now, and I'm not kidding. Like, I mean, I couldn't believe I got that 2-hour interview with him. So many messages came in to me, nice and horrible. Death threats even after that show from both sides of the fence, and I couldn't believe that. But that is what it is, you know. I mean, we just have that. That's the way our community is sometimes, and it's sad, but that's what I'm talking about. We all represent each other, and I know you see that. You're one of. That's why I tell you, you really do inspire me, because I see that in you. You have integrity. You are a wonderful woman, and I'm proud to be out here. And I'm not able to stand next to you physically, but I'm with you in spirit every time you're out there. Same, I know you're with me. And, I mean, there are so many of us like that who I feel more empowered being out there because I know you guys are with me out there. I know that on a larger scale, if we can't be at that event, we're still there. And we all feel that. We all feel that power in this community. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And if you're out there and you're still afraid to get out, please do not be afraid. I've been hollering about this for over 3 years and on the airwaves for 2.5. And, you know, I've been threatened so many times that it's not even funny. I'm still sitting here with my big old mouth. Don't let them make you be afraid. I mean, seriously, they only have the power if you give it to them.
Well, I think that people need to check themselves. And if they are doing things like being quiet or whatever they may do, and they're making decisions based on fear, then they need to figure out how to get. I'm not going to say that we're not all afraid. And I mean, obviously, come on, the writing's on the wall. Like what's happening in New York, this is crazy. This is getting ridiculous.
Oh, I know. But I couldn't believe that was real.
Yeah, I know.
That blew my mind. Yeah.
There's so many times in the last years that my jaw has hit the floor where I'm like, oh my gosh, is this real life? Is this real life? You know what I mean? Like, this can't be actually happening. Hopefully I am having some sort of, like, crazy, you know,
I'm telling you, am I having a stroke right now? Am I having a stroke? I mean, that's like when the one said anti-vaxxers should be lynched. I was like, what the what?
I know.
I mean, are you serious with me right now? And you guys published it? Like, you put it in print? What the hell is wrong? Like, I mean, you're literally, like, telling people, grab your torches and pitchforks and go get these mofos. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because I often tell people, I'm like, I read about this in history books, but I was naive to think that I would never be a part of a demographic like to be hated so much. You see what I'm saying? To have so much fear and ignorance. I mean, my husband has been with me to the Capitol this last month a couple times because of different legislation, going to the hearings and to the rallies afterwards. And the first time, he said he was outside and there was 2 men talking, and they're maintenance men, and one said to the other, I don't want to go in there because I might touch one of those people. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, what did that make you feel in that moment? Because that's your wife and daughter they're talking about. That's incredible. And then even the second time, my girlfriend was with me, and we walked out at side entrance with a woman that had testified in for legislation to take away philosophical exemption to MMR. A woman next to her mentioned. And this is my friend told, I didn't hear it, but she told me she had said this, that she said, oh, my skin was crawling. Like, I'm so glad that I got out of there to get away from those people, you know. It's just so strange. It's like I was naive to think that I'd never be in a demographic like that where all of a sudden, you know what I mean? It's just,
All of a sudden, it's like I've got a leprosy or something.
And And I tell you what, and that's what's so funny is the unvaccinated people are some of the healthiest people you'll ever meet, especially if they eat clean, non-GMO, organic, and they eat clean food. It's just remarkable. It really is. And that's why I'm so excited for Vax 2. Oh, my gosh. Like, Polly so right that, she said that that it's going to – I honestly think that Vax 2, I think, is scaring the system. That I think they're terrified of this film coming out because
they are.
It's going to show, all these stories of injury and death, and it's not just the MMR; it's every single vaccine, every injury under the sun. But also,
we told our story there too.
But when they begin to interview the unvaccinated and seeing their vibrant health, I really feel like that's true. She said that it's going to be, I forget her exact words, but it's going to be a game changer. I think a lot of people that are still scared, what's going to happen if I go vaccine free? They're going to see it, the vibrant health, and they're going to. I think it's really going to be a big. I think it's going to change a lot of hearts and minds. I think I honestly feel like vaccine coming out is part of why everything the system's coming down with the iron fist like it is.
Oh, heck yeah, girl. I mean, think about it. They pulled Vax from Amazon with 3,500 plus 5-star reviews. I mean, who does that?
Yeah, and then didn't it go up to like number 9 in all movies or something after that, though, of DVDs being purchased? Because you can still buy the DVD, you just can't stream it anymore. So it's like, didn't you learn
that's what I love
in America?
Every time. Every time they try to censor it backfires, because that's what happened to all those books, too. All the books they started taking down started selling like hotcakes because everybody wanted to get them before they were not there anymore.
Well, and isn't it disturbing that they're not even censoring, like taking down books that question vaccine safety? They're censoring books about how to heal your child from vaccine injury. That's crazy. Like, it's just so sad.
You're right, though.
So, but
that kind of blew my mind. I don't understand half of the tactics that they use or a lot of the stuff that they're doing. But I'll tell you, it's getting on their end. They are trying anything and everything that they can at this point. I mean, they really are pulling out all the stops. They see us. They definitely see us, and they are lying on social media so bad. They are lying through regular media so bad. All you see everywhere is anti-vaxxers attacked, anti-vaxxers attacked, anti-vaxxers attacked. And every time you look at our live feeds, and this is what's pulling a lot more people in from our regular community to our normal friends, is because they're watching us go live at these events, and then they're seeing us post these articles where they're saying we're horrible, attackative people, and they're like, wait a minute. I kind of watched you do that, and that was not how that played out. You know what I mean? Like, what's happening here? I mean, and it's crazy. Because I got people who grew up in church with me. Like, I just watched you at ASIP, and you guys were so peaceful, and you guys were polite. And next thing I know, you're posting about the articles, and they're talking about you guys being attackative and yelling at scientists. And it's like, none of this happened the way that they portray it. This is what we're trying to tell you. It's like, they're never going to portray us correctly because it doesn't fit their narrative. We're not paying them. I wish we could pay them, but we're not paying them. If the taxpayers were the ones paying for the media instead of all the pharmaceutical companies and all these large corporations, then we might actually get some real news.
Well, and I tell you, that's something that really, like, I really do feel that I know that once I begin to really research, and of course it's so funny because my husband, there's times over the years where I'll find something, whether, say 9/11 truth, where I'll just spend months like digging, like, uncovering everything I can about it so that, I can have an opinion, because it's foolish to have opinions without really digging and using your own God-given discernment to figure it out, look at both sides. And so I get into the vaccine debate, and then a year goes by, another year goes by, and it's like, I'm in it for life. This isn't a phase I'm going through where I'm just gonna be done with it. Like, I can't. This is it. This is my life now. This is the way it is.
Yep.
But as far as the media,
born for this, baby.
what really, what Del talks about, and the reason he made Vax is because the media, it was hardcore censorship of William Thompson. I mean, like crickets. Utter silence. The silence was deafening after, because I looked into the measles psyop that was taking place, and then I realized, about William Thompson. I realized, okay, so this media psyop or the outbreak, 150 people and tens of millions. It's so scary, measles, And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is months. This is literally months after William Thompson came forward as a whistleblower. I mean, come on, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And then just to have the media not say a word about the whistleblower, but then to make measles so terrifying, everyone run out, get your MMR. So not only do they censor, but they actually fearmonger everyone to run out and get the very product that this whistleblower is saying is they're committing fraud on the safety studies. And so it is really disturbing when you really see how the media works. Yeah. And then the censorship, but then
you got people getting them at a different phase of life than they're supposed to.
What was that?
You know what I mean? The vaccine is not working, and people, if they're not going and getting the booster that still aren't working, you've got these people who should have gotten them at the right age and phase in life, and instead they're getting them when they get older, and that's where it becomes a problem. I mean, it's the same as a lot of the kind of stuff.
Time goes on as the older people, like Paul Offit even says, he's born before 1957, and he had wild measles, and he's immune for life. As those older people get older and die off, and all we have is a junk immunity from vaccines, it's really interesting to see what happens. And of course they're going to blame the quote unquote anti-vaxxers when it's the vaccine program is creating these problems. I mean, the vaccine program is putting infants in danger where they never were in danger before because of maternal immunity. If you had the wild virus as a woman and you give birth, your infant, when they're in that, early, when they're early on, when they're at risk of complications if they contract measles, whether, it can be dangerous, they're protected. If you had wild measles as a mother, you pass antibodies to your breast milk and you're good to go, And then just like you said, all these people that got junk immunity from vaccines as an early age, they're getting older. And then booster after booster, but it's still not everyone takes, not everyone gets antibodies. And if they do, it's short-lived. So, and it can be dangerous. That's why moms used to have measles parties back in the day, just like chickenpox parties, because they knew if you get this virus out of the way early on in the prime age, I think it's 4 to 7, then, you'll be immune for life, and you don't have to worry about the complications that can come from getting it in adulthood. So are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Hello? Oh, okay. I thought maybe you dropped off. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Everything's literally backwards. I mean, if people ask my advice on how to discern look around and discern what's actually happening, I'm like, it's all backwards. Everything you're told is usually the opposite's true. So that's a pretty good foundation to go from. I mean,
I know, and it's scary because it's down to the banks, police. I mean, so many things you think do one thing, do another. And, I mean, it is kind of like a matrix. I mean, I was telling my daughter the other day, I was like, it's so funny, but we belong to the government from the moment we're born. You get this Social Security number, and they follow you, and they make money off your ass like interest up until the day you die. I mean, it's just insane, and we allow it.
A little bit. I was listening to a little bit of you and Anu before I got on, and talking about freedom and that we are in a free country, but freedom is yours by virtue of your birth. It comes from your heavenly Father, from Yahweh. That's right. That people have to understand that. So that's where your power comes from, is comprehending liberty and freedom. It's yours when you're born, no matter what they do or say or coerce or lie or mislead or,
That's right.
No matter what, it's a mindset. It's an understanding, and so. So that's right. Years
freedom
ago,
over fear.
Our campaign, no doubt, and faith over fear. And years ago, when I campaigned for Ron Paul, and I was a part of the Electoral College, and I was trying to practice my speech to see if I can get elected to go on to the county convention and state convention and so on. And I didn't make it very far, but I tried. But I was at this meeting where we were practicing our speeches and what we're going to say, and this woman stood up, and I, for the life of me, can't remember where she came from. She had a fairly thick accent, but I remember this was in 2012, and she stood up and she goes, "You know what? I fled from a country that was tyrannical, that horrible. I mean, imagine like having a curfew, and if you're found outside after a certain time, you'll be, herded with dogs, like, police in riot gear with dogs, And she's like, you know what I saw what it was like before tyranny and then after, and she said the media was a telltale sign. When the media is completely controlled, and it's obvious that it's controlled, then that's when the writing's on the wall. And that's why she was so passionate trying to campaign for Ron Paul and for freedom and liberty, because she's like, I fled to your country, but I'm afraid that I fled to the wrong country. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I remember, and this was in 2012, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. It's funny, I always say, because I'm in the vaccine debate, and we talk about herd immunity and this and that, but I'm like, why does everybody think America is immune to tyranny? I don't understand why. I feel like subconsciously that's what people believe, is that America is immune somehow to tyranny. But if you read what our founding fathers said, that's opposite to be true. Every country.
It's happening every day in our country because of our government. I mean, and that's the time for everybody to rise up. I mean, that's the part that we really need to also focus on, is it's not really just about vaccines. It's about medical health freedom as a whole, and getting, people who care about freedom from chemotherapy for their children if they want to choose a natural route, or chiropractors who, there's just so many other people out there who care about medical health freedom, who we could get involved, and, it's a bigger picture. And also, may just be me, I don't know, maybe this is just a personal observation and I'm wrong, but I feel like our community is still very, we're not getting into all of the other communities still. We are not, I go everywhere and anywhere. I get my hair cut in an all African-American male barber shop to spread truth in different places so that they continue that on. Like, I feel like we need to be doing more things like that, getting out in places we wouldn't usually go or we wouldn't usually be. And those guys knew, and they were just happy to hear somebody come in and talk about it and say something's happening and we're trying to do something about it. And, I try to convince people to come with us, come to these things with us, become a part of this. We need more people. We need to show them it is every race, it is every creed, it is every age, it doesn't discriminate. And, and I feel like we still really, that is where we are going to start really winning this, is when we start getting into every community and we start caring about every community and getting out and making sure everybody knows what's going on.
We're all in this together. And that's,
Amen.
And you're so right. You're so right. Okay, so that's where I feel like I'm trying to push to, is to say, you know what? We have to find common ground. We can't approach people assuming that they're going to hate our guts because we're not vaccinated or we don't vaccinate our children or what have you, or we question the safety of vaccines. Because a lot of people are just going about their lives and they're oblivious. They don't even know what's going on. They might have a vague notion from like the news, but and that's something that I try to explain too, like I said, because there's the way quote unquote anti-vaxxers are painted in media and elsewhere, but then there's the truth of who we really are, and it's the most beautiful community that I'm so honored every day to be a part of and humbled by every day, of all walks of life, all races, all creeds, all everything, and we're all coming together, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I agree with you that we should be stepping outside our comfort zone and talking to people that are different from us, and trying to wake them up. But I think it's just a human condition that people, which I do try to say, is you tell people, I'm like, you do realize that when you play this game of like us against them, you're feeding right into this rotten systems agenda, right? That when you anti-pro, like I don't even like people calling me an anti-vaxxer, because it's so divisive. It's not. I don't want
that's their
to take away
term.
the right. Exactly. And then I don't know, because, like, you know, conspiracy theorists, like, it doesn't nearly have the sting it used to, I think. And I think that was the same thing. It's a term that was meant to silence and divide the population.
Right.
And yet it doesn't really have the same, you know what I mean? It's not like it used to be, I don't think. I don't think it's nearly the slur it once was.
So many of those conspiracies were proven true, and then people started going, well, crap, maybe we should start listening to these people we thought were crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and what I was going to say too is I didn't just grow up without vaccines. I grew up just different in a lot of ways. We didn't celebrate pagan holidays. I was often, say when the people came through to give fluoride treatments in school, I would go outside. I wasn't allowed to take part.
Oh, wow,
there was all
good.
kinds of things that we were different than everybody else. And I think that that's why it makes it easier for me to just stand outside the norm and just, and I think that, people want to be, it's just a human condition. They fit in, they want to feel like they're, it's hard to explain, I guess. And that's where, again, I always try to have empathy for the other side, because I'm like, imagine if I grew up in a completely opposite environment where I was never told the truth about, my dad was talking about, like, the Federal Reserve System and Bilderberg and, Trilateral Commission. I mean, we were just learning about all kinds of stuff. Like he was woke before anybody. I tell you what, seriously, he was way ahead of his time. And I tell him that all the time. And so, but then I try to think, like, okay, I want to have empathy for the other side. Imagine if I woke up told that everything's okay, the system isn't corrupt, obey authority, everything's fine, do what you're supposed to do, fit in, conform. But then to, like, wake up and realize that, and have to go through that process of waking up, like, oh my gosh, the system is so corrupt. They're lying to us. That's so corrupt. They're actually lying to us about something so significant as vaccine-induced autism. That's crazy. I get it. I can see how it could be hard for somebody could be totally naive to how corrupt and rotten the system has become to, you know what I mean? So, I guess what I'm saying is just we need to have common
It's a paradigm
shift.
Empathy.
Yeah. I can only imagine, because I grew up woke. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really have to wake up, and so it's got to be painful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
it is. I promise. I'm on the other end of that. It is.
Yeah.
I had three older kids that were vaccinated, and even when they had health problems, I would have never made correlation. And then seeing it literally before my eyes with these two, it's like, holy smokes, what is happening here? And even so, you think I'm winning a million. And then all of a sudden you find your tribe and you're like, oh my God, there are millions of us. Like, holy smokes, man.
Everywhere.
Like, this is insane.
Everywhere.
That's right. And you can see them. You can tell.
Washington. I've gone to the state capitol here in Washington, I think 7 or 8 times at this point. And I've met 2 women that work at the Capitol who confided in me that one of them, their son, and the other, their grandson, are on the spectrum, and they said both of them regressed after the MMR. And isn't that incredible? In our state capitol building, I came across 2 people that confided that to me. And mind you, neither of these women knew about vax. Neither of them knew that they weren't 1 in a million. Okay. I mean, isn't that incredible? I mean, and then, they go to pass. So there's 2 bills in Washington. One got squashed, thank God. That would take every philosophical exemption away to every vaccine. And now we still have one that we're fighting that would take the philosophical exemption away for MMR specifically. And so it was a House bill, and the representatives voted on it, the House floor, and of course they wait till 11:30 at night. So I stayed up late, late to listen and watch and see what's going on and what have you. And so they go around to different representatives and they make a comment as to why they're yay or why they're nay. And the very last person was a gentleman from Gig Harbor here in Washington, and he looked around the room at his colleagues and he said, many of you know my daughter, but many of you don't know that 10 years ago, I think that's what he said, I think he said 10 years ago, she had an adverse reaction to her MMR booster for kindergarten and almost died. She had 106 86.3, I think it was, temperature for like 4 days straight.
Wow.
Something like that. It was extreme. I mean, he just explained like what it was like to hold her in his arms when she's just like a furnace, you know. And then he says this and why he's a no vote, you know, and expresses, you know, explains what happened to his daughter, that she almost died. And then they turn around and vote immediately following his story, his attestation, and they voted it through to Senate. They said yes. Isn't that incredible? My jaw hit the floor.
No, it sounds like ASIP.
I was like,
I'm used to watching this.
I know. It's incredible.
I'm telling you, girl, I've been going.
Really incredible.
It's mind-blowing. It is at first, but, I mean, going to ASIP now, I mean, same thing. I mean, we literally get up there, pour our hearts out, and then they go around the table and vote, and they're like 100% yes within 2 seconds, and then they chuckle about how fast they all came to the conclusion. And it's like, what in the world is going on right now? Am I in the Twilight Zone? Like, did you guys not hear anything we just said? At least act like you're going to take a minute to think about it. At least pretend.
I always say that there is very little that compares to the hardcore social engineering behind vaccination, because people are literally like zombified. Like they don't see the forest through the trees. It's really strange. And I mean, even at this last hearing, you know, we have all these different people. They actually allowed public comment. And so, you know, of course, there's many terrible stories of horrible things happening from MMR. And then 2 people come up after to, you know, they're, you know, proponents of this legislation. And it was like they were robots. It's like they completely, I'm like, I sit there and I thought, how could any human being listen to those stories and then get up afterwards and just like say, oh, we need this, herd immunity, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand how.
You know what's really messed up?
I don't get it.
They come up to us afterwards and they'll be like, oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry that happened to your family. I'm so sorry that happened to your child. I didn't even know that was possible, or whatever. And you're like,
wow.
Okay, if you're so sorry, make a better decision. You know what I'm saying? Think about what's going on here. When you go home today, read a book. You know what I mean? I mean, when I went in, I believe it was October, I took every member on the panel I could afford a book for and fundraised and everything to get more one of JB's books. And then after that, they made it where they put the rope up, and you're not allowed to give them anything.
Yeah, it's been interesting how you report, you know, on each ASIP since the beginning, how things change each time, you know, how it's more and more tyrannical. And then, of course, you know, the last time these bogus news reports about, oh, you guys were somehow attacking them, and you know,
that's why I put that picture of me and the cop up. I had to put that up. I was like, you know what, I'm sharing this.
Awesome.
I'm putting this up.
I just love you so much. You're such a just so awesome. Just bringing people together.
You've got to do these things. You've got to, though. When we went in there, I mean, when they came up to me with those drug dogs, I'm like, hey, puppy, or bomb dogs or whatever, you know, I'm just like, and they're like, don't do that. It's like, whatever.
Well, I wonder how many policemen are going to wake up. Police officers are going to wake up because,
I told them that. I'm telling you.
Because I saw, like, when they had the hearing, you know, in Washington, and hundreds of people from all over the country flew in to be there, and of course they didn't allow any of them to speak, and they just were, you know, just delegated to stand outside in the hallway during the hearing kind of thing. But they had a bunch of, you know, policemen with, or I say policeman, but of course policemen and women, that had like zip ties, I think, if I remember right, and standing like over. It was like overkill, right? Like what?
That's what they had at ASIP
like
too.
One police officer to like every 2 people or something. It was just ridiculous. It was just a bunch of moms and with strollers, you know what I mean?
Tasers, guns, 3 bottles of mace. I mean, it's like, what are y'all thinking we're about to do up in here?
But like I said, though, is a lot of those moms were talking to these officers, and you could see that they were engaged and they were interested to learn, and that's what I loved. I was like, ooh, I think some of these police officers are, you know, getting about to be woke by all these, you know,
you're right. At the rally in California, while the women were, while the women were speaking, there was at one point, I believe it was Jamie Lynn, but I'm not sure. I don't want to misquote, but somebody talked about freedom of speech, and the cop behind her was like, yeah, and clapping, and I'm like, yes. And that's how it goes. And that's what I told ASIP, you know, when I messaged Amanda Cohen. I'm like, honestly, the more of these guys you bring in, they're listening to both sides, and you're waking them up for us. I mean, you're making our job easier. And they're literally talking to us like, oh, my goodness, blah, 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 blah. The regular security in there, if you're ever able to come, you'll be mind blown. The regular security at the front door where you go through at the, like, metal detectors and all that, literally they're always like, oh, glad to see you again, girl. What's up with your resistant cells, blah, 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 blah. Like, they are just, they love us. They know why we're there. And so it's just so funny, you know, to see as time's gone by. I mean, I've been going for over 2 years. I've been going since I went to one in early 2017, and then I got sick, and I didn't go to the two at the end of that year, and then I've been to every one since. And it's just been mind-blowing to me, the differences have taken place and the differences we're causing. You know, when I walk in and someone says, Miss Barron, we know who you are, we have a recliner for you up front, I just looked at the guy and said, I sit on the front row anyway, man, you know what I mean? And then him and another guy posted up in two chairs right next to me the entire meeting. If I got up, they got up. If I come back, they come back. I'm like, all right, this is the way it's going to be. But they know I run the Inundate page. I mean, they know. I mean, whenever the Washington Post interviewed me, she said, how do you make your money? I saw on your Facebook you have an Etsy page. Within 3 weeks, Etsy was censoring everything, and my products were taken down. And I was like, I mean, I know what's going on. They're trying. I mean, and they've taken so much from my family, I mean, and we're still going. We're still trying. I mean, I told my daughter today, you know, I got $6.18 in my regular bank account. You know what I mean? It's like we're doing what we can to stay alive out here, but they're definitely making a dent in us. I'm a single mother with 3 girls I'm taking care of by myself. That's my income. That's what I do. You know, I have health issues where I can't be out working a regular 9 to 5. It's just not feasible. I have to work around how I feel. So, you know, I mean, it's insane out here. I mean, they really are attacking us. Oh, I got to say this real quick.
It's a war.
Before I forget, Lacey, Chalk the Block, hashtag Chalk the Block. They are censoring us so bad right now through social media. My daughter at ASIP, or during the rally at CDC, went across the street to CVS and grabbed a thing of chalk, and they chalked up the sidewalks at the CDC. And so we came up with hashtag, so hashtag Chalk the Block. Everybody listening, please get out in your neighborhoods, your recreational centers, your parks, those kind of areas, churches. Chalk them up with the truth. Hashtag them Chalk the Block. Put them on social media with that hashtag. Erica, Lynn, and I are going to get a page up to get that set up to get everybody where they can share their things and you know, let's get this going and try to help get the censorship where if they're going to try to block us in one way, let's just find a new avenue. And this really is hitting the streets. And there's spray paint chalk now, y'all. They made it easy to make it super awesome. So I'm looking forward to it. It's like graffiti style now.
But I love that because it's still like the whole, you know, the idea of
grassroots, baby.
You know, it's, well, yeah, but I love it because it's not like actually defacing public property because it's just going to wash away. So it's like, it's
anything that's public
like
property they cannot get you for as long as it's chalk. Don't go spray painting stuff and blaming me, everybody. Make sure it's chalk. I've been so tempted to do my first graffiti, and I keep saying it'd be so worth going to jail for because there's this little bridge going in and out of town that everybody goes under, and it's already graffitied up, and every time I go under it, I'm like, I just want to put vax.com. Like, I'm so just want to do it every time, and it's like, no, hold on, you're okay, don't do it. And it's like, man, I just want to hit it, you know? Oh, my goodness. I probably shouldn't have said that on the air, but I probably shouldn't have just said that on the air, but I'm just saying it goes through my mind every single time. Like, there's a good place to hit. Like, start up my graffiti career. Oh my goodness.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we got to find little ways to do things. I mean, I bring info cards everywhere I go, and I'm always finding primo places where I could stick the cards where they would be out of the elements, where they'd be easily found by people. You know, a friend of mine made
we do Post-it notes for our
wrist.
show and all that too.
And so, my friend of mine made some learn the rest stickers for me. And so anywhere where there's already a bunch of stickers, right, like, you know, different places around the town, I'm always like, you know, I always have it. I feel naked if I don't have anything on me, right, any information.
Yes, because you're always going to meet that person, and you're like, oh, crap, I don't have my cards. Like, like, dang it. Oh, man. I had someone I was trying to talk to about this topic, and I literally was so confident that they were going to want more information. I'm literally like, look, my house is the one with the blue light on the front porch, autism awareness, whatever. Like, you'll know my house if you want to talk about this for real. And then next thing I know, ding dong, hey, I just wanted to talk more about it. Like, all right, let's chill on the porch and talk for a little while. But I love that. Because I'm telling you, I love people. I will talk to everyone and anyone. I mean, it was so funny when my daughter's dating this guy, and he is Arab Muslim, and his family owns one of the gas stations up the road. He's just one of the sweetest guys. And he, approached me first about, is that your daughter? And do you mind if I ask her out? And it was the cutest thing I've ever been through, and I was like, we talked on Facebook for a while first. Like, literally, he became friends with me before he even had, asked her out. And he was like, you're different from most people here. Like, most people won't even talk to me. They look, you get dirty looks. And he said they literally wear shirts that say America and stuff like that just so they feel like they're not going to get treated bad. And the first day he met me, I'm standing there with my human rights keychain, and getting my drinks and stuff. And he's just like, all right, cool. And it's like, more people need to be like you. It's like, I agree, man. And hell, he's seen all the stuff we've been talking to him about. And he's like, wow. He's like, they consider you guys like terrorists. He's like, I never even knew this could be a thing. Like, this is weird,
Well,
like, you'd be surprised in America.
Well, and it frustrates the shit out of me, to be honest with you, because, a lot of people in my life have acted, like have been pretty bigoted towards Muslim people. And I always say the same thing. I'm like, you do realize there's billions of Muslims in the world, right? With the B, billions. Yep. Like, how? Oh yeah. When you think of it in that way, it just makes it seem so silly, right? Like, you're going to choose to be bigoted towards an individual, like, because it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, treats my daughter like a princess. I mean, he calls me mommy. How you doing today, mommy? But I love him, and it's amazing for me to see my daughter have somebody who treats her that way, and I told her, I was like, this is what you deserve. You deserve to be treated like a princess, and I wish American men had that same mentality. I mean, I've been through some really bad relationships, and I got to say, everybody out there who knows my life, I have my first date since my divorce coming up this week, and I'm super excited. So pray for me, everybody. I know, girl.
And by the way,
I'm nervous.
I want to say your daughter's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. You can just see it radiate inside and out. You can just see it. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. She's come a long way. She was affected as a teenager, and she went through trying to kill herself, depression. She went through, this was just 3 years ago. She was going through it. Girl had to have her stomach pumped, all kinds of stuff, and she recovered. She was with her dad for a while, and he was going through it, and she was just, I guess, kind of feeding off of that energy. And we decided, she was there to get to know his side of the family because we were always so far apart. I was in California or Texas, and they were in Georgia. And so I decided, like, look, it's time for this kid to come home. That's it. We're done. And since she's been home with me, she started exercising and taking care of herself. And she's just, her whole personality has come back. And her bond with my daughter with autism is really what saved her life. They help each other out every single day. They give each other a purpose. And it's a beautiful, beautiful relationship. It's just something so interesting. And they need each other, and for my 19-year-old, she says, I swear, Mom, if I ever move out, I'm buying a house next door to you because I can't be away from her, but it's like mommy number 2 to her. If she doesn't get Mama, she wants Lala, and it's neat to see that because I do feel like they save each other. Like, Jasmine has come so far, and she absorbs everything. And, for them to say she wasn't even going to speak, I've got a kid running around the house going, you, umbrella, K, kiss, kiss, just saying all kinds of stuff now. And it's like, yes.
You better write yourself what is it? Is it autobiography or biography when you write a book about your own life? Yes,
I know. And I've been asked so many times, and I'm actually started working on it. It's just so hard. The beginning of my life was just insane. And, I had my mom's show back up this past Christmas for the first time since I was in my early 20s when we saw each other for the first time since I was 4. And so, it's been a crazy ride. And it's just been, when we literally had to completely, cut ties again because she's just not a right-minded human being. And I mean, it's hard for me because I'll give anybody a chance. I forgive everybody. I love everyone, and I mean, we just couldn't have that relationship. And I mean, I'll keep going. Whatever it is, whatever the devil throws at me, to me, it's just one more hurdle to jump over. And sometimes I feel like he'll hit me with everything. I mean, I'll get hit lots with everything at once. I mean, it's like right now going through all these financial problems, having health issues, everything going on with my kids, my ex. Just, my life is not normal. And I'm still out here every day from when I wake up to when I go to bed, like, how do we win this? How do we fight this? How do we make a difference? You know what I mean?
And I tell you what, I just, all the different people that I've come across, including yourself, that have gone through unreal circumstances and come out the other side just persevering and still have love in your heart and not be, like jaded where where you're hateful or or even paranoid. I know there's a lot of kind of paranoid people in the movement.
Yeah. Oh, there are. I know a lot of them. I promise you that. Oh, gosh, girl. We didn't even get on that one.
I get it. The system is rotten to the core. I get it. I'm sure there's controlled opposition somewhere, but Lord have mercy. Can we stop it already? But, yeah, anyways.
Girl, I get called controlled off at least once a week. I'm like, really? Really? I love everybody. I mean, come on.
I know.
Oh, yeah. It does make me giggle, though, especially people out there fighting their butts off.
Yeah.
I mean, you get attacked, you do a rally, you get a call controlled off.
No, and it really makes me sad that people have a hard time discerning who's who, It really does, because I'm like, come on. Like, how much evidence do you need? Do you actually look at things? Do you truly, rationally, objectively, look, and trust your ability to discern, because I think, it's strange. But
I give as much of myself as I can possibly give. You know what I mean? If people don't know me by now, then they never, ever will. And that's just all I can say about that. And the people who do know me, they know me. And that's why, and people know that when I say I'll be there if you need me, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm there. And that is the truth, and I mean it. And anybody who knows me knows that, because I know what this feels like, and I know how bad this sucks, and I know what it's like to either just be divorcing because of one reason, or because of this, or because your kids are staying up all night, or because, I get it. I've been through so many crazy-ass things in my life that I probably have some sort of advice that might help you. So, I love people coming to me. We had a girl who came up to me at ACE and said, oh, my goodness, she's so beautiful. And I felt bad because I didn't remember the instance, but it's because I really do try to do this as much as God inspires me to. But she said, you had never spoken to me before, never messaged me before, and all of a sudden you just messaged me with exactly what I needed to hear. And you just really gave me perspective, and you really helped me that day, and I just wanted you to know that. And hugged me, gave me a big old hug, took a picture and everything, and I felt bad because I didn't remember the instance, but it's because I will be just sitting there and see someone's name in the chat side, and it'll be like, you need to say this to them, and I will. And it's just crazy how, that always plays out, and you never know, God might be telling you that, so don't ignore those little things in you that say, hey, this person might need you to reach out to them. I try to do that as much as I can, and on both standpoints. I feel like we have people on our side who, they need a little love shown to them. They might be going in a different direction that might be helping us so much. And we really do all have to stand together. We have to represent each other. We have to pick each other up. We have to recognize each other, appreciate each other. This is just the only way to win.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. And just even begin to open yourself up to just the other side. I've had, so in the beginning, 4 years ago, first I studied for a little bit to really start getting a sense of what's happening. And once I felt confident where I was like, okay, I have a good sense of what's going on right now with all this, I began to post publicly on Facebook. And then, an older gentleman who shall remain nameless began to come after me all the time, and call me names and say, you're those people and you're crazy and blah, blah, blah.
I know what you're talking about already. I'm sorry. It's just that I get it from the same one.
Well, no, but here I don't think we are talking about the same person, because this gentleman, he kept coming after me for months. But he was a gift, because he made me have to back up what I was saying, have to start articulate what I'm saying and be able to back up what I'm saying. And so it was a gift, to have that back and forth. And then eventually I woke him up one day. It was a video of Robert F. Kennedy being interviewed by Jesse Ventura on Jesse's show. And this gentleman, I kept going back and forth for months and months and months. And then finally, I'd always send him stuff, and I'd always, be cordial. And I'm like, just look at this, look at that. And then finally one day he's like, oh my gosh, you're right. And then that was it. So I'm just saying, you never know. We always should keep, if someone's willing to have a dialogue with me, even if they call me names and they're say I'm those people and blah, 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 I just consider it a gift, because again, it's helping me to better formulate and articulate my position and forcing me to back up what I say. And then you never know. You just really don't know, when someone might finally wake up, when that seed that you planted actually germinates. You just don't, So, but then even like you're saying too, the infighting within our community, I hope and pray that we all can just stop with the defensiveness and just open ourselves up, because we are on the right side of history. And, I think that every little bit helps. And I tell you what, like I said, I really believe this. There's enough people. I really believe this. There's enough people in this country that are awake, that if everyone stood up tomorrow and spoke out, this would be over. It'd be over.
Yep.
There's no doubt in my mind about that at all.
Yep.
And so,
look, I talk about this all the time,
hope,
girl. But you see what Martin Luther King and all them pulled off in 1963 with no social media, with no email, they were literally on a bus going city to city saying, y'all have a bake sale, get a bus, everybody meet in Washington on this day, we're going to get in, get out, let's do our thing. And they made it happen with over 250,000 people. I want to do this, but I want to do this with everybody. This is why I say medical health freedom on a whole. And we have social media. We have the way, and honestly, we have a coalition, a group, or an organization in every state but 2. So if those coalitions or organizations dedicated 1 or 2 people to that, and they start looking into ways to do T-shirts, stickers, bake sales, whatever the hell they got to do to get buses so people aren't having to pay for gas separately and get everybody there, we could make that happen. And just like back then, Kennedy said, I can't ignore this. There are 250,000 people. I have got to go out there. I've got to be a part of it. If I'm not a part of it, I'm showing I'm against what they're standing for. We got to draw Trump out of the White House. It's on us. Nobody else is going to do it for us. And we have celebrities. We have power.
Really start digging in.
They had.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm thinking maybe it's something where we should start pushing. I think you're right. You're totally right. I think that when there's a will, there's a way, and I think that we could get easily that many people to the White House.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
No doubt.
And what are we fighting for? Make manufacturers viable again. No mandates. You know what I'm saying? Actual freedom of choice. We shouldn't have to have exemption papers to say we don't want to do that. That's stupid. These are my kids. I created them. You weren't in the bedroom that day. This has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? This is my creation. I'm going to take care of it.
Where is this? Yeah, it's where is the law? Because here's the thing. Here's what's interesting is, well, I guess there is a law. I don't know how that works, but I know there's everyone. So I live in a state with all 3 exemptions. Okay, one of 17 states, but yet I come across people still all the time that literally my state senator didn't know that there are exemptions to go to school. Okay, she just said, I thought it was the law to go to school. That was end of story. And it just boggles my mind, the volume of people that still tell me, it's the law. There's no way to opt out. I'm like, you don't even know about the exemptions? Even though we have all 3, we're one of the most freest states in the country. So I just think how that works.
The doctors don't know about the testing. They don't know where the post-market data. They don't realize ASAP's happening. My doctor is 64 years old. been in practice forever, and he had no idea what ASIP was. I was like, well, you might want to tune in live, homie, because we're going.
And that's what I'm saying, that we all, like, every little bit helps. And if we're going and talking to your pediatrician and giving them a stack of papers, even if you believe that there's nothing that's going to come from that, why not? Just get, copies, make some print out.
What does it hurt to try?
Yeah, no doubt. And because here's the thing, and that's why I tell people too, it took me probably a year and a half of really digging in, really looking into this before I finally could just emphatically state that doctors and nurses and most anybody in the healthcare field don't know anything. They literally don't know anything. It's unreal.
Yeah.
They leave medical school with very, very little training, but yet this incredible faith in this product. It's really incredible.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And I was talking to my friend who's a history professor over here in Birmingham, and he's been watching everything I'm saying, and he started digging into it himself through history, and he was like, I'm your friend in this. I see what you're talking about. I know what you're saying here. And, we were talking about all this stuff, and he was like, wow, like, you guys are making history right now. Like, yeah, man, you might want to write a book about this, because we are. Yeah, man, we really are.
Mm-hmm.
And the sad part is, in history, most of these movements, all you ever see is the men. You only ever see the men really spoken about. I have a book called Freedom Daughters, all about the civil rights movement and all these women who did these amazing things that you just don't hear about. And it's like, you know what, the mothers are this movement. And you know what, it doesn't matter. One of my friends was like, you guys are going to be in the history books. Like, I don't care about that. What I care about is the change that comes, that keeps my children, my grandchildren, and all the generations coming after this, number one, not going through this, but also being educated enough to know what the hell just happened here. Because that is very important as well. It's not just making it stop, but making sure everybody understands what happened and how to keep this from happening again. Because this is like some craziness. I mean, this is like I don't know, it's just dark.
It is. It so is. In fact, I've been meaning to do a Bible study on Pharmakeia, right? Because that means witchcraft, right? Sorcery, and that's where pharmaceutical is derived from. And so that's something that I talk a lot about as a Christian. Is I'm like, people are pretty oblivious to the power and influence of these if pharma, big pharma, that just, and I love how Robert F. Kennedy says it. Every company that is manufacturing the vaccines you administer to your children are convicted felons. They've all lied and cheated and put out products that have maimed and killed. I mean, my understanding, isn't there like 100,000 people die every year from taking drugs as prescribed, not abusing them, but just taking them as prescribed? I mean, it's really
because
wicked.
they don't pay attention to what they're doing. I had a second heart attack on 9 heart medications. They didn't take me off of any of them. They actually added more to my regimen, and I ended up like half-life and learning about all of that and taking myself off of all of them. And, that was after my second heart attack. I haven't taken a pill for my heart in 3 years, and while it still does a lot of crazy things, I'm still alive.
And I hope you're alive for a very, very long time to come. I just think that you really are like a friend. Skin of light. I really believe that. So
thank you. You know what? I feel like all those little battles prepare me for this war, and I think that's why I'm not so afraid. And I think that's why I guess I don't know. I am able to see things the way I do. There's been so many crazy things in my life, and it's like at some point, you just have to ask yourself, what are you going to do? Are you going to just sit here and keep on taking it, or are you going to get up and do something about it? And I let so many bad things happen to me in life that I didn't ever voice anything. And then to have something happen to my own kids, it was like, nah, nope, that's it. Nope, that's it. It's over now. When it came down to me, I wish I had the strength to stand up for myself. When it came down to my children and other children out there, it was like, nope, that's it. Okay, I'm going to find my nuts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to have to figure out how to be able to do this. Because, growing up the way I did, we were made fun of as children's home kids. It was not a normal life, and it was very crazy. And so I always stood out for bad reasons. And so I didn't want to stand out for negative reasons anymore. And, and then I realized you don't stand out for negative reasons, Lynette. You know what I mean? Like, just be yourself, do what you've got to do, And the more people that I talk to that inspire me, when they say you inspire me as well, that's amazing to me, because it's like, wow, if you only knew what you did for me in my everyday, if I'm even close to doing that for other people, then that's awesome to me. Because I love knowing that, that even, just a post is capable of helping somebody through a bad day or whatever. I mean, we all have got to be there for each other. And when I say I love you, I mean it. And I mean, and when I see you guys out there doing the stuff you're doing, I'm just so proud. It's like, oh my goodness, my people, you guys are awesome. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, it really, I mean, for me, I've always had a hard time loving myself, and I've had a lot of anxiety and depression for a lot of my adult life, and so when people would say, "Oh, you inspire me," or "Oh, this and that," I always just immediately would be on the negative, like, "Oh, that's not true." You know what I mean? So I've come a long ways as far as trying to love myself and not hate myself, and to forgive myself and just do the best I can. Because I tell you what, I look at so many people in our movement that have injured children, that have gone through sometimes horrors that it's hard for me to even imagine or fathom, but yet persevere and are doing more than I'm doing. And I'm just over here with a beautiful, vibrant, intelligent, healthy, unvaccinated daughter, unvaccinated siblings, like I don't have a whole lot on my plate, you know what I'm saying? So I beat myself up, like, man, I'm not doing enough.
Don't do that.
Other people, I know that. And so
you do what you're led to do. You know what I mean? You do you, and everybody else is doing them. Everybody's got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
To me, you're doing amazing. I mean, I think you're doing awesome, and I like I said, I mean, I really do look up to you, and I'm so proud of you, and you guys blow my mind. I'm like, yes, that's my person right there.
Well, I tell you what, I think you just solidified it in my mind that I need to make it happen. So I'm going to see about maybe doing some, fundraising to get myself to ACIP this next time, or maybe if not this next time, then maybe, the one
I would
after
love
that.
to see you there.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, but it's educating. And honestly, I'm telling you, our presence in that room is so important. And, I mean, it's so funny. When I made my comment and I said, I'm going to be right here every time, and I pointed at the front row, there is a woman behind me who grabs her face like, and just starts laughing. And I don't even know who she is. She looks like maybe a pediatrician, or I don't know who she was. But you could tell she was like, damn, like, uh-oh, And it's just so funny to me because, I mean, when I get in there, I'm like, I hope there's a seat left on the front row. Like, I want to be right there. I almost feel, and I'm one of the most loving people you ever meet, but when I walk in there, I put on my serious face, and I try to look stern. And then it's so hard for me because the one cop kept smiling at me, and I'm like, good Lord, why does he keep smiling at me? I'm trying to put on my serious face, And so it's just so funny because he comes up and, it's like, we're peaceful, right? And he's like, yeah, and then he walked away, and because he didn't say there was another cop next to me. He didn't really say much to me, but he came back at the next break like, all right, let's talk, girl, And it was funny because Tia comes up, and she's just like, you don't know, this woman's amazing, this woman's this. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, Lord, Tia's upselling me. Oh. Gotta love your friends.
I just there's so many people in this movement that if they just know who I am or know my name, I'm just like, oh, my gosh. Because I just adore them.
Right?
So I have a picture of me and Polly, framed in my house. Cause
Me too. I get the picture of Dr. Suzanne kissing me in a frame. I met Mark Blaxell, and he looked more excited to meet me than I was to meet him. And it was, I didn't even know if he knew who I was. And I'm like, hi, Mark. It was so funny because he's sitting down. I'm like, hi, Mark. I don't know if he's like, Lynette, blah, blah, blah. Gets up and hugs me. And I'm like, wow, okay. It's like, oh, that was cool. I can't wait to meet Brian Hooker.
I did. Well, I couldn't really get to know him, actually talk, but I was able to meet him, and I was just seriously falling over myself. So that
I love him.
I got to shake his hand, and my life is complete in that regard. But I would love to be able to just sit with him for a while and have a conversation. But he was at the Capitol with Robert F. Kennedy, so they had stuff they were doing, right? So they had to be on their way. But I was able to get a picture and just shake his hand. And I mean, just the other day I was just thinking about his place as far as the truth coming into the light. if he had never done what he has done, where would we be as a community? I mean, I feel like he's so integral to the awakening. He's literally ground zero. Like, if you never would have reached out to William Thompson, where would we be right now? So
that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
Shoot. When I interviewed him, I was so nervous. I was sweating bullets, and then it went so good. We had so much fun. And, you know, and I mean, we've become friends just through social media. And I'm like, I have got to meet you. Like, I love him so much. When, you know what happened at Cal Jam this past year, you know, this January, and I'm telling you, or February, I'm telling you, girl, I messaged him and I was like, you know, I leave with love, but I was about ready to leave with love upside that woman's head. Like, they're lucky I was not in that building, because I would have been up on that stage, like, drop the mic, like, nope, we're done here, next.
Yeah, I don't
man.
understand that. I really don't, because I did have a lot of admiration and respect for the Wolfsons, and I just don't get it. I really don't understand why they had to do that. And then to end it with her, like, walking around, like, pregnant, like, outside or something, and just, you know, it was just strange. It was very, like, it's hard to put a word on it, just egotistical, like, just.
Well, she's down Vax and the Vax team, and I mean, I was really upset, and I was so angry because I was at home, and I had wanted to be there so bad. I just couldn't afford the money to go, and I wished I had been in that building, because I really would have gotten up. I would not have just sat there silently and gasped. I would have gotten out of my chair, and I would have walked up there, and if they would have had security, I guess they would have stopped me, but I'm telling you, I would have walked up there and taken the mic out of that damn lady's hand and been like, no, ma'am, you better apologize. No, you're done. Get off the stage. We're done with this. Nope. I mean, that is what should have happened. It really, really bothered me.
I don't get it. I don't understand why people in the movement do these things. I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, what was the point of that? That was so negative and so cruel and wrong, and I don't understand. I just don't get it. I just don't. I agree. It just really frustrates me. It does, because we're all in this together, and that's right. Just how, you know, I've always felt like that's who I am, because I've always been. I actually had a psychologist once tell me, after, you know, talking for some time, over weeks and weeks, she says to me, she goes, you know, I really believe that you represent like 3% of the population. Like, the way you think, it's not normal. And I was like, well, that says I would agree with that, because I've never fit in my whole life, and that's fine, and I'm happy to not fit in, because I'm like I'm on the outside, and maybe that's why I feel like we're kindred spirits, because we're on the outside, we don't fit in, but yet we have this incredible feeling that we're all in this together, right? Yep, like, we're outsiders,
and you know, I mean, it's
all
true, though.
Different people.
Yep. I don't have to like you, but I have to love you because God loves you. He created you, and that is where I'm at. And there are a lot of people in this movement who have stepped on my toes, who have basically, metaphorically, drop-kicked me in the mouth. And I'm still like, I love you. It's all right. Whatever. Maybe you were just having a bad day. You know what? It's cool. I'll see you tomorrow. Keep on fighting. You know what I mean? I mean, and there, I'm not going to name names, but there are people who know that's true. There are people who know. I mean, they've hurt me many times, and they still come back, and it's like, hey, at the end of the day, you're my girl, and I love you, or you're my dude, or I love you, or whatever. You know, I mean, because that's the only way we're going to win. And if we shut each other down and we hurt each other, and where are we going? We're going nowhere. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, everybody's going to see things a little bit differently. Everybody's going to do things a little bit different, and I get that. If somebody's doing something that's literally hindering the movement, say something. Be constructive. Don't out people. Don't yell at people. Don't call them controlled op. Go to them. Talk to them. Say something. You know, give them a chance to see things maybe from your perspective. Not everybody thinks the same way. We really do have to get better at that. Like, it's just so sad. I see so many people who, you know, I mean, I'm at the point, like, I mean, people know, there are several people who are, I would consider like higher ups in my mind in this movement, who know what one of my plans is my fundraising. And it is to go and speak to some of the higher up people who I believe there are a few things they need to hear and be thinking about. And that's just because, I mean, I pray every day. I pray quite a bit, and I pray sometimes so deep that I feel like I fell asleep and woke up with answers. But, you know, there's just a lot of things on my heart. And I will tell you this is something that really bothers me, Lacey. Martin Luther King lived in the slums of Chicago so he could be with his people. I said this last week on my show, and I'll keep saying it. So that he could be with his people. He could understand their plight. He was reachable. He was accessible to his people. I can reach Paul off in 3 ways in 5 minutes, but I cannot reach the higher-ups in this movement no matter how many times I ask or even request a phone call. That's not okay. That's not right. That's not the way it should be out here. We should be out here supporting each other and recognizing each other and taking care of each other and having each other's back. And so that really does need, people really do need to be starting to look at those things and thinking about those things, because I will support all of you. I love you. I'm out here. If you see me and I can't be at your rally, I'm sharing it. I'm supporting you. I'm telling you how much I love you, because I do love you, because I do see you. And I think that we need more people doing that, and more people who are in a power of position need to be showing the people more than what they're getting. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just being real here. And, you know, it's not about one person. It's not. It's not about one person. It's about a huge common goal and getting there the fastest way so that the least amount of people are injured in the process. You know what I mean?
No doubt. And yeah, I'm totally with you. You don't have to name names. All I know is every time I've been able to meet Del a few times, and he's always incredibly gracious, always willing to, you know, talk to everyone that wants to talk to him, give a hug, take a picture, just very, very approachable. But as far as I was just kind of on a different line of thinking. One thing that because I'll hear people in my life on the outside that don't really pay attention to the debate. You know what I mean? They don't really know what's going on. They're just kind of like whatever. And I'll often hear them say, well, you know, I see people on both sides being rude. I see people on both sides being unkind and hateful. And I'm like, I agree. I know. I don't know, though. I have to say, anymore, I'm like, I don't see people on our side saying some of the incredibly horrible things that I see on the other side. I don't know. I think that they're, but anyways, but as far as but
it's hard to get far when you make fun of people, or when you meme them, or when you make cartoons of them, or it is harder to get to those people and have the conversations and make it to the common ground versus just taking the higher ground in the first place. And maybe that's just where I come from. I might just be crazy, but that's how I've been able to have the conversations I've been able to have. I got the head of HHS on my LinkedIn right now as a connection.
Oh, wow.
I make connections, girl, because I treat people nice. And I even look crazy and they still talk to me. But it really is all in how you talk to people.
It is. And I'm actually trying my best to kind of let myself go and not be on the defense, not expect people to respond to me in a certain way, because I find that if you just let your guard down and you just say, hey, fellow human, I'm talking to you as a human being to another human being, let's have a conversation, and not come in a defensive way, it really can be a beautiful thing. And what I was going to say too, as far as our side, the quote unquote anti-vax side, well, but of course I prefer health freedom movement or vaccine risk aware side. One thing I often will point out, though, as far as I can't judge a lot of these people for if they do lash out, because, and this is what I'll say to people, I'm like, okay, so just imagine you had a perfectly developing child making milestones, making eye contact, walking, talking, pointing, able to speak, and then to take them into a vaccine appointment and then have them immediately regress before your eyes. What's that?
Hey, I was going to tell you, we have a surprise caller. We have your mom on the line.
Oh, no, really?
Yes, ma'am. Welcome to the air.
I just wanted to call
Mom.
in and, hi, sweetie. Tell everybody how very proud I am of my daughter and how far she's come in this movement, and just let her know that, for one thing.
Aw, that's awesome.
But
yeah,
you
my
said
mom
something
was always
a
on the front lines. Go ahead.
She said something a few minutes ago that I wanted to comment on, is about how it's really the mothers who are the voices out there, the ones, the true fighters. And I wanted to just say that I think that there's not enough women out there that are not listening to their intuitions, because that's really how I got started. I was like, there's nothing right about this. When my first child had a reaction, I said, the doctor kept telling me that, oh, that's normal, just give them Tylenol. And then the second time, the same thing, I called back and I'm like, this is what's happening. And, oh, that's normal, just give them Tylenol. And I was a very young mother, very young. And, but all my intuitions told me, that there's something wrong here. This is not right at all.
Yeah. I wish more would. I mean, I had that same feeling in the doctor's office myself, like, when they make you hold your own child down and your child is literally fight or flight, and I mean, I'm crying. I'm literally bawling at this, and it's like, this cannot be okay. This cannot be what's supposed to be here. I mean, I feel like I'm torturing my child. And I mean, it does. Your insides tell you that. It's like, run. And I wish I had listened. And my children would not have suffered. Believe me, I wish I had listened. And I'm so thankful for people like Lacey. She doesn't have to be out here doing this. And I mean, she's a stand-up woman in my eyes. I promise you that. I respect her and I look up to her, because we need more people like that who are in this fight, not because they have to be, but because they want to be, because they care that much about humanity and about what's going on and the greater good. And I just respect that so much.
Yeah, and I just hope that more mothers will listen to their guts, and because it seems like most people are just put such blind faith in what these doctors have to say. And in my lifetime, I have found that they'll lie to you just as soon as as they can. I mean, they're not giving you the full truth of what is going on, and a lot of times it's because they don't even know themselves, and it's really a sad situation. That's right.
You're correct. They're trained not to see this. They're literally trained not to see this. They're given 90 minutes to 2 hours of vaccine talk in medical school, and it's all about how to give the schedule. Nothing about adverse reactions, what they look like, how to look for them, how to treat them, categorically what they are. I mean, which injuries for which vaccines. I mean, there's none of this. And then you go in and you say, my kid had an injury, and they're like, that's impossible. We'll do 3 million tests to prove you wrong and put your kid through all of this instead of just listening to you, and we could have figured this out in 10 minutes and they could have been, okay or whatever. I mean, it's wild how how brainwashed they really are. And the ones who do understand it will take you off on their own and say, you're right, it was the vaccines that did this. And then as soon as they get in their group of colleagues, all of a sudden you're an idiot again. And it's very sad.
It is, and after her brother had that experience, and then I went on to have 4 more children, I never looked back. I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. Something's not right. But I started looking around in this small town I lived in, and all of these babies all of a sudden were just dying of SIDS, and I was like, what is going on? And one baby I remember in particular, I had seen this baby twice since birth, and I had commented what a vibrant, baby this was, and so alert and happy and everything. And then I saw the parents, and I saw it in the newspaper, the obituary, and I seen the parents one day. I said, what happened? And they're like, well, she was just fine. We had just taken her in for her vaccines, or for her 2 months or whatever checkup it was. I think back then it was like 6 months. Checkup, and everything was fine, and she was, right on schedule and everything. And 2 weeks later, this baby died in her sleep, and that really, really stuck with me. And then after that, I just started paying more attention, and I'm like, oh wow, there is a correlation here. And so then I really started, studying about it, and met some people that really opened my eyes even more. And I'm real grateful that I never went ahead and vaccinated the 4 after that, And they're all very healthy, as you know, Lacey Raye, just vibrant child.
Yes. Oh yeah, she's awesome. Awesome. I'm just so happy for her children that they also get to experience that. And I will tell you, the children that I've seen that are vaccine-free are super vibrant. I mean, these kids, there was two little boys at ASIP, and, oh, my goodness, Noah, I mean, he was tiny little thing, and he just booking it across the room. And it was so funny to watch because these panel members are like, wow, that baby should not be walking. How, man, that baby is healthy. It's so alert. And it's like the mothers, yeah, it's because it's vaccine-free, and their faces just drop. And it's like, thank you for the window. I mean, but it's crazy because it's true. I mean, these kids are just, they literally shine. And it's like, oh, my goodness, you can tell. And you can tell the kids who have been, vaccine damaged. I can go in the grocery store, walk around, and I can literally tell. And it's like, this is so sad. That, and as parents have read so much about so many conditions at this point, we literally could diagnose most of these cases. It's insane.
You're right, and I also see it when I'm out in public. I can see it in their eyes that that something has happened, and then they'll do something, have a tick or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah. And it's really sad, and there's just really no cause for this, and people need to, wake up and understand that, we don't need all these chemicals and toxins, and, to me, it's an abomination to think that God didn't make us perfect, that we have to,
Amen.
That we have to add to it. That's just so wrong.
No, I agree 100% because. Oh, go ahead, Lacey.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that, my daughter had a fever a while back, and it did scare me. And even after everything I've read about fevers and Tylenol being bad and everything else, and trusting the body to do what it's supposed to do, it was a little bit disconcerting because it did go up to about 104.3, I think, at one point. But I stuck to my guns, so she got sick on a Wednesday afternoon, and she was sick through Thursday, and then, like I said, at one point it did get pretty high, but I just did natural remedies and lots of hydration and, put her in a warm bath and yada, yada, and I was like, okay, so by Friday morning, if I wake up and she still has a high fever, I'm going to really be worried. But I tell you what, I woke up Friday morning, and she woke up, and she was just like, had pep in her step, walking around, like, just ready to, take on the day. And I just remember thinking to myself, oh, my gosh, I just witnessed a God-given immune system do what it's supposed to do. And it's a beautiful thing. Yep. It really is.
Yep. And every time you suppress a fever, you're suppressing it. You're just lengthening the sickness. It's insane how people see these things. And, Tylenol and Motrin and Advil, all those things, they're not good for you in the first place. So, really, unless you were really at a dangerous state. My daughter, when her injury happened, we had 26 days of fever, and they kept sending us home like that. And we got up to 106.7. 100, and that was under the arm when they checked her in the ER. 106.7, and under the arm. And they're like, she couldn't even lift her arm. She wouldn't respond. They're doing, everything they were doing, she was not doing anything. And they're like, they were still wanting to send us home, like, oh, she'll be fine, give her Motrin and Tylenol, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not going home. And they still kicked us out. We went to another hospital. We were admitted for 7 weeks, It's like, what in the world is happening out here? They don't even care. And I remember calling the other doctor. It was a children's hospital. I called them, and I'm like, if you don't admit her, she will die. And at first they're like, well, 3 weeks from now was the appointment they made. And I was like, oh, no, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Like, no, sir. I'm not having that because she won't be here. And luckily when we got there, the lady was like, you were right to fight for her. You were right to bring her in. Like, oh, my goodness, her labs are coming back, and they are not right. You were right, Mama. And, ended up what happened to her, we had bone marrow aspirations, biopsies. They first thought cancer, all kinds of things. And it was really a whirlwind to go from a healthy child who was literally wearing onesies to say I'd flex, but I like this shirt, to I can't lift my arms, I can't move. And they still deny it. And it's just so sad. The ICT denied her. And, all the doctors were like textbook vaccine injury, and they're like, nope, not happening, not getting it. And they sat on her case for 2 years before it. And, this is how it goes. Then they'll tell you, find your own lawyers, find your own experts, find your own whatever, and, your time is up. It's too late now. And it's so sad because they'll injure you. You can't sue them, and then you can't even do anything in their crazy kangaroo court.
Mm. And then, Mom, just to let you know, like, how amazing Lynette is for, doing what she's doing with what she's gone through. She had just had the Tdap, or is it Tdap or DTaP?
when you're pregnant.
Tdap.
When her daughter was injured. So she was pregnant and she just got a vaccine, and then it was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, 2
right,
weeks later,
Lynette?
my 15-month-old was injured. Yeah, 2 weeks later, and then my brain goes, if this is what just happened to you, what's happening to the baby inside me? And I mean, when she was born, I mean, it was so scary. I mean, she never met milestones. She was, I mean, severe autism, global developmental delay, epilepsy, major gut issues. I mean, it's insane the diagnosis this child has received thus far, and they're still not finished, I'm sure. And she was my fifth kid. No, I mean, I never had a vaccine while pregnant, and I don't have any other children with autism or any like disorders of that nature. And when I remember thinking, if her sister just had this, happen, surely they're not going to want to vaccinate anymore. And I mean, they even vaccinated her at 4 months behind my back, the little one, because we had to take Lily in for biweekly CBCs, and they had to do a white blood count all the time because she had no neutrophils thanks to them. And so we had to see where she was sitting and adjust her injections. I had to do every other day of Neupogen that we had to start, which if you've never had to inject your kid, it really sucks. And especially knowing what's in those as well, but there was no choice in the matter. I mean, luckily I learned so much that I've actually recovered her. She does not have to take injections anymore, thank God. But, I mean, it was a long journey, and nobody wants to help you. And for me, to have my other daughter born, and I mean, I didn't even understand what was happening. I started researching vaccine injury and autism because I got into this community, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, look at this. All these children are suffering from this. Like, how do we help? And when I started researching autism, Lawlyn is sitting with me, my oldest daughter, and I just start pouring tears. And she goes, you just realized what's wrong with Jasmine, didn't you? And I was like, yep. And she was like, oh, Mom. And I couldn't even take it. I just couldn't. I mean, because here I was researching it to help other people, and it hit me like, this is what's happening in your own household. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening. And sure enough, took her in, and, the lady was like, she has the most severe case we've ever seen. She will never talk. She will never never get out of diapers. She will never be on her own. And she talks all the time. She doesn't talk on, like, she wouldn't have a conversation. But she knows all the alphabet. She knows all her numbers. She knows, sounds. She knows, tons of words. She just does it in her own time, And, it's sad. It's like they give you no hope, but that's why, we're out here. Parents need to understand that even when you get those diagnoses, it's not the end of the world, and they are pulling off big books for recovery, but us parents are out here to still help you and walk each other, hold each other and walk each other through this.
Yeah, and I need to say that, that what I'm just appalled at the number of vaccines that are given to children nowadays. I mean, back when this happened, we weren't, the child didn't get a vaccine till 6 months old, and now it's, birth and even, like you say, pregnancy, and there's just something so wrong about that. And in fact, I know a person whose young baby, they went in for a check, and the doctor said, something's not right, and come to find out that this baby had a stroke in the womb. And I said to myself, oh my goodness, I bet you she had some kind of shot during the pregnancy.
Yep.
Most
likely the flu shot. I heard of strokes because of the flu shot, and actually it was like causing fetal demise after strokes in the womb.
I can't even imagine getting vaccinated while you're pregnant. To me, that's just goes against everything.
Oh yeah, and they'll bully you into it. I had a tiny little cut on my knuckle that took 2 stitches. And they said, if you get tetanus, your baby will die in the womb. You have got to get this vaccine before we're even going to stitch you up. You've got to do this. My daughter was with me, and she's like, and I asked the guy, I'm like, is it going to hurt? And he's like, if you're going to be a sissy about it or something like that. And I'm covered in tattoos, but I hate needles, and I hate blood work. Like, I will cry. I'm like, use a blood needle. They always look at me like, what? And I'm for real. If it's medical, it freaks me out. And, so, it was just crazy to me. I'm like, I looked at my daughter, I'm like, I can't believe they're going to give me a vaccine while I'm pregnant. Like, that does not seem right. And he was so adamant, and he told me that nothing would happen because of this. If I didn't do it, he was telling me all these risks. So I actually printed out her diagnosis paperwork. I got my medical records where he gave me the vaccinations, all those kind of things, and took those to him in the emergency room to be given to this doctor so that he can understand what he has done, and maybe he would think about it before he does it again. I don't know that he even gave a crap, but at least I put it in front of him.
Right.
And then to think that there's literally, like, I try to explain this to people. From what I understand, we went from you don't give pregnant women vaccines, you don't give pregnant women anything, okay? Always,
That's right.
You know, on the side of you know, safety, and if you don't even know if it can cause harm, you stay away from it. You see what I'm saying? Like, everything that could possibly cause harm, you stay away. And then,
well, it makes
my
sense that they
understanding
don't
is
want
CDC. Go ahead.
Well, it just makes no sense. I mean, when I was pregnant, it was like no coffee, no Coke, no, you know, don't even empty the cat box, and, you know, just no alcohol, no smoking.
Yeah.
But shoot me up with some mercury there, buddy. You know, go right ahead. That doesn't even make sense.
Don't eat tuna fish, but we'll give you mercury.
Oh.
Well, and then it was never tested. Isn't it just creepy to think that the CDC was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and offer these products off-label to pregnant women with literally no safety testing overnight, and act like
they just make a pregnancy registry is how they get away with it. They make a pregnancy registry. They say that at ACIP, they're like, just add a pregnancy registry to it so we can collect that data. And that's why when I go in there, I have that shirt that says, we're done being your post-market data. Because that is exactly what we are, and people don't realize it. I mean, my OB even thought that the HPV vaccine, the flu shot that she's giving, she thought all these are 100% tested in this huge population who agrees to be tested on that are pregnant before she ever receives these to give out. And I gave her the HPV vaccine on trial. I gave her JB's book. I gave her all these things, and she was like, oh, my goodness. She said, thank you for informing me. She was like, I had no idea. She's like, I didn't even realize these things weren't tested. She said, I thought these things were tested thoroughly before we were given approval to give these to pregnant women. And I said, not one of them has been tested in the pregnant population because it's considered unethical, but somehow it's ethical to test them on all pregnant women everywhere and just to tell them it's been tested. Like, it's just mind-boggling.
Well, and how many people actually are being put into this registry? Because I saw that, too. If you look up any package insert, it says, you know, well, for the ones that they're administering to pregnant women, you know, pertussis vaccine and the flu vaccine, it says not test safety and efficacy not proven in pregnant women. And it says if you administer, you know, to a pregnant woman, to put them in this database. And then there's a number to, like, call, if I remember, you know, if I remember right. And so, but I'm like, how, nobody reads the insert.
Yeah.
It's like, how many of all the women
something.
getting shots, who's actually being put into this database, you know? So.
Yeah, I went back and I listened to my interview with Paul Offit finally the other day. And at the 1 hour and 20-minute mark, he says, we have to give women, this is not verbatim, this is just, you know, my memory. He says we have to give women the whooping cough vaccine while they're pregnant. They do what they gave me. He says we have to do that because the vaccine we give children at 2, 4, and 6 months does nothing for them. So we have to vaccinate the mother because that's the only way they're protected. So he literally says on the air that the vaccines we give at 2, 4, and 6 months do nothing. And he says it even more extreme than that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just said that on the air. Like, we're giving them at 2, 4, and 6 months for no good freaking reason. And you know what I'm saying? And it's like, what the? I don't know. I mean, it's just there's so many clips in that radio. When I went back and listened, that he said that I'm just like mind blown that nobody caught that or was like, whoa, did y'all hear that? Like, what in the world? Mm-hmm. Like, it's crazy to me that, I mean, it's like so many of them. But I mean, this is the hard part because they believe they're doing this for the right reason. At first, I really did think he was being malicious. I really did. I mean, I used to have memes that I made of, you know, F. Paul Offit's poison for profits. I mean, I was right there with everybody else. But it really is like they really do believe they're doing this for the good of mankind. I mean, they really do. And that is why I wrote what I wrote, you know, talking about how we're all coming from, you know, different places in a different uniform, but we all believe we're doing this for humanity, just a different perspective on it. And, I mean, that really is the truth of it. But we have to see each other that way long enough to actually arrive at some conclusion of how we fix the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real quick, I'm sure you've heard of the naturopath, I think it was, there's a naturopathic conference, and they invited, I believe it was a immunologist or vaccinologist to talk. And when they asked them about the fact that babies don't build antibodies, they don't have an appropriate immune response in the first year of life to vaccinations, their response was, well, we just are training the parents to keep coming back. So all the vaccines you get in the first year are just to train the parents to keep coming back because they actually aren't doing anything.
You know, the American Academy of Pediatrics put out an article that said women needed to stop breastfeeding so that vaccinations were more effective.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And they also said that breastfeeding women and doctors promoting breastfeeding was promoting anti-vaccination and natural mothers, and that they did not recommend doctors recommend breastfeeding anymore because it was creating more anti-vaxxers. It was like, what?
I guess, at this point, I guess we should just tell everybody you haven't seen anything yet. They're going to pull out everything they can. They're fighting to. They're going to do whatever it takes. They're going to say whatever needs to be said. Hang anti-vaxxers, discriminate from them, make them unable to go into public places or they're fined or jailed. I mean, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So it's just interesting because it's like, I know we say these things, crazy things that have been said or what have you, but it's just going to get so much worse. They're going to fight tooth and nail. Because, I mean, Pfizer...
It'll get worse before it gets better.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That is what it's going to take. Mm-hmm. It's going to take shit hitting, excuse my language, but it's going to take crap hitting the fan before we get the rest of the people who are still kind of on the fence about walking out the front door on this topic. It's going to take things hitting their neighborhoods and really hitting home for a lot of people before they're like, you know what, Even if I want to vaccinate, I want the choice to do so and the choice not to do so. I mean, even if you just don't want the flu shot, if they take away your choices and they mandate it, you have to get that. I mean, whatever your reasoning may be, just for the sure fact of having your freedoms, you should join this fight.
Mhm. Well, our bodies are quintessential private property, and that's what I keep saying. Is I'm like, that's all that matters. That's the brass tacks. Your body is your private property, and when you give power to the state to dictate what is injected into your body, even if you think the government isn't corrupt right now, what if it becomes corrupted down the line? And you really think it's a good idea to be on board to advocate that this is the case? It's just unreal.
Right. Like we've never had a person in charge who hates one type of population or the other. We have one right now, who hates certain races or whatever you want to say about it. I'm just saying the truth now. But when you give people that much power, I saw a nurse who literally said, I cannot stand those special needs retards. When they come in here, I make sure to poke them a couple extra times when I do their blood work. This was a phlebotomist.
Oh my God.
And she said that all retards should be euthanized and these kind of things. We actually had her fired. We actually pushed this and got her fired. But that's the kind of things we have to deal with. And, okay, so you make this mandatory, and then what's to say they're not going to put more than they're supposed to? What's to say they're not going to change something? Or let's just say, would you get what I'm saying? What, you hate all people with tattoos all of a sudden? I'm already X'd out. I mean, I'm just going blue hair, brown eyes, blue eyes, whatever. I mean, it happens. We cannot give our government that much power over us.
No, and one of my main concerns is when all this has come down with mandatory vaccination, and it looks like we're heading toward that. And I even said to Lacey, I said, how in the world can they monitor such a thing, And she's like, well, they'll probably have to have your papers on you. I said, in this age of technology, that'll be too slow. I said, this is where they're going to wanting to start chip us,
That's right.
So that they can.
It's happening already in other countries.
And to me, that's just a sign of the mark of the beast, in my opinion.
Amen. You're watching the Bible unfold, girl. We are watching the Bible unfold. I'm right there with you. I'm telling you. You just gave me goosebumps because I'm seeing it myself. I read my Bible every single day. I pray every single day. I see it myself, and it's like, woo, I'm just waiting to see what happens. If he wants to come back, I'm ready, but I sure hope he lets us win and at least experience the taste of glory for a minute first.
Mm-hmm. Well, it does say, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and seek my face, I will hear and come, heal their land. And so I wonder if there is hope. I mean, a lot of Christians say that everything's just supposed to be this way. Everything's going to, go into hell in a handbasket, and it's going to get really terrible, but then the kingdom will come, and that's, what we hold on to is the kingdom of heaven, which is amazing. And I have a hard time understanding or seeing how people can get through this without faith. I really do.
Amen.
But I'm like,
girl, I want to get all of our people in that Capitol and bow our heads and have a prayer that strong. Just imagine that kind of force going up in the heavens. I'm serious.
Oh, yes.
Like, this is big, and this is a spiritual battle of epic proportions. It really is. The only way we will win this fight is with God. I mean, it is the only way, because we are fighting Goliath, and we are definitely David in this. I mean, it is the only way we are going to win.
So true.
No doubt about it. But
yep. Y'all just remember,
really
that support each other. And, I tell you guys this all the time, but anybody listening in, remember that it's not about climbing on top of each other's shoulders. It's about standing next to each other with our arms locked. You remember when Moses' arms got tired, they lifted them up. They helped him. Help each other. It's not a one-man show. This is a team effort.
Well said.
Girl, I should have been a Baptist preacher, I'm telling you.
You'd be a good one.
I don't know if I'd fit in, but I'd love it. I got hot pink hair and tattoos everywhere, but I'm telling you, the Spirit moves me. I love God. I mean, He is definitely what He runs my life. I mean, if you want to be a vessel, you can be. If you allow Him. I mean, I was telling the guy I have a date with this week. I was so excited, y'all. But I was telling him, I mean, I really do believe that if you have the faith of the grain of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. I've seen it happen because I believe it. And the more people who actually believe that and understand the Scripture for what it is, you have that power. And it's a beautiful thing when you understand what kind of power you really do have. I mean, it really is. I mean, my daughter was fully atheist just a year ago, and she has watched God do so many things in my life. She's like, Mom, you can't be near you and not believe. It just is impossible because God works in my life because I pray for Him too. And I mean, man, the power of God is so insane. And, I mean, that's one of those things I really do hope more people understand. I'm not out here to try to bring you over to Christianity. Other than that, it's my job as a human being and a believer of God. And if you don't like me for it, I'm sorry, but that's just who I am. And I'm going to keep doing that as well as spreading the other truth that I spread. So these are all truths, and these are all things that, I have had people say, you don't believe in vaccines, but you believe in God? It's like, shoot, how do you think I got here? You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the grace of God and the power of Him, I know I would be in the fetal position somewhere.
So true. I've seen that so much, and I'm so inspired. And that's something I try to say to people. Before I became quote unquote anti-vaxxer and became obsessed the way I am, is because I just try to explain to what it's like to be in my shoes and what I'm observing through all these amazing people and their faith. It's so humbling, and it makes me want to do better every day. Just seeing the incredible faith in you and so many others in this movement that have overcome such adversity and come out the other side. It's just amazing. It really is, and there's no doubt that God's behind this. Oh my gosh, it's divinely guided. There's no doubt about it. It's just very, very, very apparent to me. So
yes,
He's on our side.
Get up before
so we'll be okay.
Yes, everybody, when you're out there and you're speaking and you're doing all these events or whatever, pray before you speak. Please pray before you speak. The Bible tells you God will give you the words to say, and He will. Believe me, I have never prepared anything I've ever said in public. I don't. God, I pray. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever they need to hear, you tell me that's what's coming out of my mouth. Half the time I don't even know what I said. I'll have to go back and watch it and be like, wow, I did do all right. Okay, cool. Because that's just how it goes. It's like when I was growing up in church, I remember, when the Spirit gets you, it's almost, I hate to say it this way, but it's almost like blacking out drunk or something. It's like when you're like, wow, did that really just happen? Woo, goodness gracious. It is crazy. And I fought this, y'all. I grew up in a children's home. I fought this. This was like, nope, y'all are making me go to church. I'm not doing this. I don't believe in this. And, I fought it up until my adult life. And then it was like, you know what? You can't fight it. When you know it and you see it, you might as well just surrender.
You're right. Yeah. You know, I have a necklace that I wear all the time, and it has a single mustard seed in it. And many times when I'm scared or doubtful or whatever the case may be, and sometimes even when I'm just speaking with somebody about vaccines or whatever, and I find myself hesitating, I'll just reach up and I'll just touch it, and I do seem to feel the words come naturally, you know, whereas before I was tongue-tied.
That's awesome.
And so, you know, faith is a big part of it, and you know, you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to believe in your intuitions, and you know, I mean, if I could see this clear back in 1978, you know, when the vaccines were fairly few compared to what it is today, and these people just don't even question it. I'm blown away. You know, that they don't question anything. That they just, you know, just go right along with it, whatever the doctor
blindly
says.
Follow.
And it's real scary.
Oh, yeah. Well, ladies, we've got about 30 seconds left. I want to thank you so much for being my guest today, Lacey. And Terry, thank you so much for calling in and being part of the show. You are so beautiful, and thank you for raising and creating such an amazing daughter, because we love her so much, and she inspires me every day.
Oh,
she's a great lady. I love you, Lacey.
Thank you,
Mom,
thank you for calling in. I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart. Bye-bye.
You guys have an amazing weekend. Lacey, keep me posted, girl. Anything you got going on out there, let me know. I'll definitely show my support.
Will do.
All right. I love you, ladies. Y'all have an amazing week. All right, you guys. You have been listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. I love you guys, but we've got to go.